All right, we bring you in today. This is Keaton from Keaton Talk Sports here. We're doing a first round mock draft with no trades, and I bring in a special guest. But before I bring in that special guest, let's get the intro rolling here. What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Keaton Talk Sports here, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is down in the box below. I bring in a very special guest. We got Dan from Dan Talks Football. Dan, how are we doing today? It's great to have you on.
Oh, man, Keaton, thanks for having me on, man. I'm so excited to be here. The draft is I love the draft. I'll take the draft over Christmas anytime, anywhere. I love it. I can't wait for it to be here. I'm excited. And, man, I know you are too, man.
Exactly.
And I love the background. Ohio State, Patriots. I love it.
Sure. Yes, sir. Sure. Yeah, as always. It's great to have you on, as always. So, basically in this video, how it's going to work is, since Dan's a Chiefs fan, I'm a Patriots fan, I'm going to have Dan do all of the odd picks. I'm going to be picking all of the even picks. And basically just giving each other feedback on why we have each player going to these respective teams here. So, Dan, if there's anything you want me to go over, or is there anything you want to go over before we get started here?
No, I'm ready. I think I got pick number one ready to go here. So I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, I'm gonna get this up real quick. Let's see, share screen. Here we go. So we're gonna be doing this off of PFF. So Dan, basically, since you're picking all the odd numbers, who do you have the Tennessee Titans going with at number one here?
All right. I thanks for letting me pick number one. It's kind of nice that you have me going first, but I want to rant a little bit here because in this mock draft, I'm going to go with what I think the team's going to do versus what I would do. And the pick's going to be Cam Ward, a quarterback out of Miami. And I want to emphasize this enough. I think this is a terrible, terrible mistake of the Tennessee Titans. I think that what they should have done is traded down with the New York Giants. And at number 3, they should have took either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. And here's the deal, because Harold Landry, as you well know, is with the Patriots. They need help in the secondary. They need help at the edge. The one thing about the quarterback position that people don't realize is that you could be a great left tackle. Joe Thomas just entered in the Hall of Fame. You know how many championships he won with the Cleveland Browns? None. How many championships did Barry Sanders win with the Detroit Lions? None. You could be a great player on a bad team, except for the quarterback position. The quarterback position is really unique because you have to have everything surrounding you to be good. You have to have a good organization. You have to have a good coaching staff. You have to have good players surrounding you. And Tennessee has none of that. I think this is a massive mistake. What they should do is have Kirk Cousins come in, play, and then use this, trade down, get some extra draft capital, get another first round pick for next year, where you're going to have Arch Manning, who's available. Drew Aller out of Penn State? Both those guys would go number one in this draft. And that's what the Tennessee Titans should do, but they're not going to do that. And you know what? I'm going to give you a prediction here. This is not going to work. Multiple people are going to get fired. And I think in about 4 or 5 years from now, I hope I'm wrong, but 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to look at Cam Ward and say, hey, can he resurrect his career with the Raiders as their quarterback, or with the Pittsburgh Steelers, or with the New York Jets? Because I'm telling you right now, Cam Ward's a pick. This is not going to work. The Tennessee Titans are going to end up firing multiple people, and they're probably going to win about 4 or 5 games, if that, in 2025. But that's my pick. That's what they're going to do, and I think it's a massive mistake, and I want it documented.
Gotcha. That's a good point. I mean, here's the deal. You pretty much nailed it on the coffin when it came to the Titans last year about how they were going to be one of the worst teams. Yeah, one of the worst teams in football. I was the one who said I thought they would win like 7 or 8 games just because based off what they did last offseason. And then, I mean, if you look at their tape, I mean, Will Levis really was the main reason why the Titans lost games. I mean, if you go back and watch his tape, I mean, go back to the Bears game week 1 and go back to the Jets game. I believe that was week 6 or 7. Like Will Levis literally put the team in the worst position to not win football games. And you can't really blame Titans fans for feeling the way they feel about not wanting Will Levis back. Like Cam Ward, given what he did in Miami, bringing him in and making him that quarterback one. But the thing is, with the history of the Tennessee Titans is like, every time they bring in a quarterback, like how does that end up going for them? It hasn't ended well.
They brought in Malik Willis a couple of years ago. They brought in Will Levis. The problem is they don't have the pieces surrounding them to give anybody a really good chance in order to succeed. What you want to do is build a good team. That's why they should have traded this pick away, got some picks from the Giants. Who, by the way, Cam Ward on the Giants, I think would work. Like the system that they're running in New York fits Cam Ward well. What Cam Ward, the system that they run, it's a quick rhythm passing offense. Matter of fact, Callahan said that Shadir Sanders reminded him of Joe Burrow. I think Shadir Sanders would fit this offense a lot better than Ward, but they're going to go all in on Ward. And I just think it's a bad move because this team has – I know they signed Dan Moore on the offensive line, but look what they lost on defense. Their best pass rusher, as you well know, is in New England. They have one receiver, Calvin Ridley. I don't know who their second best receiver is. That's not a good sign. Their tight ends, so. Tony Pollard's decent, but I mean, the team's in disarray, and I feel bad for Cam Ward, but hopefully I'm wrong and he proves me wrong and he ends up having a good career with the Tennessee Titans.
Right, that's a good point. I mean, again, like I said, we've seen weird things happen in the draft. I mean, we don't know what the Titans are actually thinking. They can go Duke Carter. I've been mocking Duke Carter here in the past. I mean, you can put him next to Jeffrey Simmons, and that defense will be absolutely nasty. And then you can look at next year's quarterback class, which is a much stronger class than this year, if they decide to go that route. But I think Cam Moore, obviously, they want to get the quarterback early. You can't really blame them, but you just got to hope.
No, I don't blame them. I would have gone with Kirk Cousins, and I also mocked Abdul Carter for a long time to Tennessee, and that's what I think they should do if they don't trade the pick, because I think they should go with Carter and then trade back into the first round and get somebody else. And again, Kirk Cousins is not going to be the backup for Atlanta. Let's be very clear. He's going to be with a different team. The only question is, who is he going to be with? And what Kirk Cousins does well, and what Brian Callahan wants to do with the Titans offense fits perfectly. Asking a rookie quarterback to come in and run this offense, I just don't think it's going to work.
Right, that's a good point. All right, so that wraps up for the pick one. So for pick number 2 here, we have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to have them be going with edge rusher Abdul Carter out of Penn State. I mean, if you really look at the Cleveland Browns, I mean, they're in a tough division with the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Ravens. So they're already behind the 8 ball, in my opinion, there. I mean, like I said, you can go Shadir Sanders here as well, but you brought back Myles Garrett, who clearly said he wanted to join a Super Bowl contender, and then he comes back to the Cleveland Browns. You can't really blame him because he wanted more money. The Browns offer him the most money out of any other team. But you put Abdul Carter on the opposite side of that defensive line of Myles Garrett, that defense is going to be absolutely nasty. It's going to cause a lot of issues for a lot of opposing offensive lines in 2025. I mean, I think the Browns, in my opinion, the way they're going to do it is they're going to get Abdul Carter here, and I think they're going to get a quarterback in next year's draft because, like I said, it's a lot better of a quarterback class next year. That's what I believe the Browns will do. I mean, they're not going to be a good team next year anyway, so why not get a blue chip player like Abdul Carter who can take a lot of pressure off of Myles Garrett. Now you don't have to worry about Myles Garrett and double teaming him. Now you got to worry about Abdul Carter on the other side. So if you're an offensive line, you really have to have all hands on deck when it comes to going up against Carter and Myles Garrett on defense.
I agree completely with Abdul Carter being the pick, but are you sitting down here, Keaton? Because I'm going to blow your mind right here. Are you ready? I just want you to be ready because I'm going to say some crazy stuff here. I almost said, are we allowed to use profanity on the show? I'm going to try to keep it PG here. We'll keep PG. We'll keep PG. Listen, I'm going to give you something crazy, and you're going to go back and watch this, and it's going to blow your mind, okay? Here's what I think is going to happen with the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to take Abdul Carter. I think Kenny Pickett's going to be the day one starter in Cleveland. And are you ready for this? The Cleveland Browns are going to make the playoffs. right?
Ooh.
Last year in the second round, they drafted a guy by the name of Michael Hall, went to some school in Ohio. I don't remember which school it was. He started to really play well. He was only 20. He's got a world of potential. You got Miles Garrett on that defensive line. Now you add an alien athlete like Abdul Carter. This isn't hyperbole. That Cleveland Browns might have the best defense in the NFL. And people forget that offensive line was riddled with injuries. Kevin Stefanski tried to change his offense to fit what Deshaun Watson wanted to do, but it was like a square peg in a round hole. Now, what the thing is though, Kenny Pickett can run the offense that Kevin Stefanski wants to run, and they want to be a run-heavy offense. So what are you going to do? I guarantee you, in round 2 and maybe like round 4, they're going to draft running backs, and there's a lot of good running backs in this draft. I mean, you were talking about that off the air,
right?
You watch, this defense is going to be good. If they aren't riddled with injuries, the offensive line is going to be good. They're going to run the offense Kevin Stefanski wants to run. And I think Kenny Pickett's going to be a decent quarterback. Is he going to be a top 10 elite quarterback? No. But he was a first-round quarterback who failed in Pittsburgh under Mike Tomlin, who has no idea what to do on offense. Watch out, because if Abdul Carter is the pick, which I think he's going to be, and if Kenny Pickett's a day one starter, you heard it here first, the Cleveland Browns are going to make the playoffs. Mind blown. I know I just blew your mind.
That's a bold take. I'm just looking at them. I'm just looking at the
defense with Abdul Carter. You got Michael Hall in there. You got JOK in as a linebacker. You got Denzel Ward, Pro Bowl corner. Grant Delpit looks like a Pro Bowl safety. Greg Newsome, former first-round pick, who looks like he could be a pro. You got about 6 or 7 potential Pro Bowl players just on defense.
Yeah,
and that's not counting Abdul Carter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I think their defense is going to be this. This is just my opinion. I think their defense will be the main reason why they win games in 2025.
I just don't forget, 2 years ago, this was an 11-6 team with Joe Flacco. Are you really going to tell me Kenny Pickett can't do the same thing as Joe Flacco?
I mean, he could. I mean, I'm just not buying until I see it. I just have to see it. We all know how good the Browns defense is, but
again, it's only if they take Abdul Carter and he ends up being the guy that we think he can be. Right. And it looks like he could be a complete alien type athlete. So, I mean, there are some ifs and ands here, but if Kenny Pickett's starting quarterback, Abdul Carter is who we think he is, I think the Cleveland Browns will make the playoffs.
It's a bold take. And it's not a bad take.
I'm bringing it for number one. You're finally doing a live stream, and I decided to bring it. I'm giving you some good stuff.
Yes, sir. That's a good one. That's a good bold pick, but we'll see what happens. But again, tough division. We'll see how Pittsburgh and all the rest of those teams in the division play out.
We'll see. It's going to be a great season. So we'll see, because right now it looks like it's going to be a great draft.
Right. So it's going to be one. So who do you have going at number 3 here, Dan? Since you were
I think this is a no-brainer. I was debating for a little bit, but after you sign Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, you got to go with Travis Hunter here. And this fits 2 holes, obviously. You need help in that secondary. You signed Javon Holland in the offseason. Great pickup. And then you got Deonte Banks, a guy I really liked coming out of Maryland at one corner. Now you get Travis Hunter on the other side. I think he's going to play somewhere between, I'm going to say 25 to 40 touches on offense. Maybe he'll return punts if the Giants are in a postseason contention. But I think he'll be a minor player on offense. Day one starter at corner. And then the Giants are going to make some moves. But I was debating Sanders here, but I don't think Sanders really fits that offense. And I heard that the New York Giants staff were out of Colorado every week. I think they're looking at Travis Hunter. I really don't think they're looking at Shadir Sanders, but the rumor was that they were looking at Sanders. I don't buy it. I know Russell Wilson's not the long-term answer. I know Jameis Winston's not the long-term answer, but Travis Hunter is a need, blue chip player. And here's the deal. If the Giants don't win this year, like, everybody's going to be fired.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they got to win at least 7
bank on a rookie. Yeah. You can't bank on a rookie quarterback. Take the guy and also want to touch base on if I'm Travis Hunter's agent, I tell him to play receiver, not corner. But I think he wants to play corner, and that's going to be what he does.
That's a good pick. I mean, honestly, just given what Travis Hunter did at college, man, I mean, I think he could play both positions. Now, is it going to be hard because like he's going to have to try to manage playing cornerback and wide receiver, but like everyone's labeling him as more of a corner than a wide receiver. I mean, I think it just depends on what team he is on. I think if the Patriots were to get him at 4, I mean, I think he would play mostly receiver.
If I was Travis Hunter, I would want to play receiver. When I've seen of him, I think he would be a better NFL receiver than corner, and I think he could be a great corner, but. I think he could. When I watch him play, he just screams Justin Jefferson to me as a receiver. He seems like he could be that dominant, and he may be that good as corner, but I think he'd be a better receiver. I really do. I think with the Giants, he'll get about 25 to 40 touches, maybe some punt returns, but he'll be a part-time receiver, full-time corner. I think if he goes to somewhere, Cleveland has no need for him at corner. They got 2 really stud corners. I mean, most teams play nickel, but in Cleveland, he would be a wide receiver. I think for the Patriots, he would be a wide receiver. But, I mean, he wants to play corner. If I'm his agent, I'm begging him to switch to receiver. You'll make more money. You'll last longer. And I think for his skill set, he would be better suited to play receiver.
Right. That's a good one. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think Travis Hunter is a phenomenal player. I think whoever gets him, you're getting, best player available. I think that's what the Giants would do. I don't see him going with quarterback here, especially since you brought in, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. I mean, if you look at the Giants, I don't really understand what they're doing, to be honest with you. Now, they obviously have to improve in order for Brian Daboll to keep his job, because if he doesn't, he's going to be gone, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so, and we're not doing trades here, but let me just ask you this: like, let's say they go Travis Hunter, could you see them trading back into the first round for a quarterback, or do you think that they just stay put with what they're doing?
I could definitely see them trading back. I don't see him trade. I can see him trading back a little bit, not too much, but I can see him maybe trading back to like 8 or maybe 10 or a little bit over that.
I was saying I think they could trade back into the first round. I think they could trade with a team like Minnesota, who only has 4 draft picks. I could see them trading back into the 20s and grabbing somebody. I think that could definitely happen.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. But with that being said, that wraps up pick 3. So for pick 4 for the Patriots, now I'm a Patriots fan, for those who don't know. Now, it's all going to depend on what the first 3 picks are, because as a Patriots fan, I want either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter if available. But if both of those players are off the board here, I think realistically in real life, Patriots would trade back for a tackle, whether if that's Will Campbell, whether if that's Kelvin Banks, or whether if that's Armin Membu from Missouri. So with that being said, like I said, there's no trades in this mock, but I think the Patriots need to absolutely hit on this, because the left tackle position is still a huge question mark. And I'm going to go with Will Campbell from LSU. Now, people are saying there's some concerns with his arm length. But, this dude he just gets the job done. He protects the quarterback at all costs. I think Drake May would appreciate having someone like him protecting him and keeping him upright in the pocket. Because in order for Drake May, like I said, we all know when he came in week 5 last year, he did his thing. He was able to scramble out of the pocket, but there were times where he did take some hits. There were times where even though he did scramble out of the pocket, we don't really want him scrambling too much and taking big hits. So keep him upright, keep him good in the pocket in order for him to get the ball to receivers. In order for him to throw the ball to receivers, he's got to have time to throw the ball. If he doesn't have time to throw the ball, what are you doing? So, like I said, I think realistically, I don't think the Patriots are going to take him at 4. I think will be either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter if available. But if both of those guys are going, like I said, I think they're going to trade back to like maybe 10 or 11 and then take their tackle there, whether if it's Campbell or Kelvin Banks. I don't think it's going to be Armin Membu. As much as I want Armin Membu, I think he's one of the best tackles in this draft. It's given his size, but he plays right tackle. We pretty much already got the right side pretty much figured out. Just get the left side figured out, and then you're pretty much good there.
Yeah, I think Will Campbell should be the pick. Now, keep in mind, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are the two best players in this draft. If one of those two fall, I think you got to take those guys. But if they're both off the board, like we think they are in this mock, I think you got to go Will Campbell. Now, Dick Vermeil is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's quoted as saying, "You never take an offensive lineman with the first 5 picks in the draft unless you're convinced that that's a Hall of Fame caliber player." And I don't think Will Campbell's that guy. He's not Orlando Pace, who Dick Vermeil did choose number 1 overall, or Jonathan Ogden. I don't see that type of player, but I think he's the best left tackle in this draft. And the one thing I absolutely love about this guy is watch this guy in the run game. I mean, he's absolutely dominating. The Patriots are going to be a run-first team. And as far as the arm length, it doesn't bother me at all. Just watch the tape. And like, if somebody were to tell you the guy's arms were perfect, then you would look at this guy as a perfect prospect, because somebody pulled a measuring tape out and said, "Oh, your arms are 1 inch shorter than we want." Then all of a sudden you're trying to nitpick. Don't nitpick this. This is the best left tackle in this draft. Is he a Hall of Fame caliber type of player? I don't think so. But I think that this is the definition of plug and play. He'll be a day 1 starter for the New England Patriots. He'll improve the run game. He'll improve the pass game. And the Patriots will be much better than they were last year.
Absolutely, especially given what they did this offseason, especially on defense. I mean, we already know how good the Patriots defense is going to be next year, given what they did, bringing in guys like Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Carlton Davis on that side. If you can just get the offensive line fixed, especially on the left side, and protect Drake May's blind spot, that's going to be a huge W for the Patriots, because in order for the Patriots...
Well, I agree completely. Yeah, I 100% agree.
So that being said, Dan, who do you have the Jacksonville Jaguars going with at pick number 5?
I kind of debated this a little bit because you can go in a variety of different directions, but I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I went with Mason Graham, a defensive tackle out of Michigan. And the reason why is that you have an offensive-minded coach, and you have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Your defense is terrible. And one of the things, Liam, I may be mispronouncing it. I think it's Liam Cohen, who is the former offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When he came in, I'm drawing a blank on who he brought in as his defensive coordinator, but I do remember him saying that it's going to be, hey, I'm not going to touch the defense. Me and my offensive coordinator, we're going to tinker. We're going to fix the offense. You have what was, I think, the 31st ranked defense in the NFL. Go for it. Have fun. And look at this defensive line, though. You had Mason Short or Mason Taylor out of LSU. He was their 2nd round pick last year. A guy who's got a ton of athletic tools, not a lot of production. He also had an injury issue. Didn't really play much last year, but talented. Right? Yeah, Trayvon Walker, the former number 1 pick, tons of talent, some production. Josh Allen, who's one of the best pass rushers in all of football, he needs some help. You put Mason Graham on that defensive line, you got a really, really good chance to just jump up in this division, because the other 3 teams in the AFC South all got offensive line issues. Right. The Houston Texans traded 2 offensive linemen this offseason, including their best one to Washington. The Colts, 2 of their offensive line starters are gone via free agency, and the Titans, the Titans are just bad. I mean, I'm just going to stand on that bandwagon until they prove me wrong. So if you get a really good, productive player at defensive tackle, he doesn't need to be an all-star. Because you got 2 guys on the outside that are really good players. Your defense could be marketably better. And if you just stay healthy on offense, maybe add some help, then you can. Don't be surprised if Jacksonville makes this move with Mason Graham, and Jacksonville surprises a lot of people by being like a 9, 10, 11 win team.
Right, exactly. I mean, given what Mason Graham did at Michigan, I mean, will be a huge for that Jags defense. Like you said, was one of the worst defenses last year. Great offensively, because they could put up points when they wanted to, even though Trevor Lawrence did have some inconsistencies up in there. But the defense needs to improve if they want to be able to compete in this division.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Mason, here's the thing. I could go with several different players here. a matter of fact, if Will Campbell were to slide in this draft, I wouldn't be at all surprised to go with Will Campbell and try to improve this offensive line and protect your $275 million Trevor Lawrence, who struggled. And remember, he was injured for 5-6 games last year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route. But with Will Campbell off the board, I really like Mason Graham here.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a lock in my opinion. I think Mason Graham definitely goes here for the Jacksonville Jaguars to improve that defense. But with that being said, next pick, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, given what the Raiders did, they brought in Geno Smith from Seattle, which I thought was a good pickup, especially bringing in a vet who doesn't really put the ball in harm's way, takes care of the football at times, doesn't put the ball in harm's way. But in order for the Raiders to get back to the playoffs next year, I think they have to go with a very generational running back. And I'm going with Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. I think he just looks like a Raider. Raiders fans obviously want him, especially for the offense. Raiders obviously have a great defense. We all know that. But their offense was just not good last year, just very inconsistent. They didn't really put up a lot of points per game. So, why not bring in Ashton Jeanty, who can establish that running game for the Raiders? And that's something the Raiders really just weren't good at last year. They weren't really good at running the football. So why not bring in Jeanty, who can at least give you some juice offensively with the defense that you have?
Oh, I agree completely. Pete Carroll's a run-first coach. You lost some players in free agency, which is unfortunate. I do like. I don't love, but I like Geno Smith here because you're giving up a third-round pick for a guy that's going to be a starting quarterback who's better than what you got now. The drawback is Geno Smith's the fourth best quarterback in the AFC West. I mean, I don't even think that's debatable. If you want to say he's better than Bo Nix, I wouldn't, but I'm not going to fight you on it. But
no, I agree.
I would toy around with Shadir Sanders here, but I can't pass up Ashton Jeanty. I agree with you completely.
Yeah, I mean, he can go Shadir as well, but there's a chance he could fall. If I'm being honest, especially if you look at the first 3 picks, Titans go with Cam Ward, Browns go Drew Carter, Giants go best player available in Travis Hunter. Ashton Jeanty has been mocked to the Raiders for a while. So if the Raiders go with him, where does that leave? I could see.
Here's what I was going to save this for pick number 9 because the Saints is the big question. If he falls out of the top 3, Shadir Sanders at 9 makes sense. But I like Spencer Rattler, so spoiler alert. I'm letting you know right now. I'm not picking Shadir Sanders at 9. But if he falls to not past 9, I think he can go into the 20s.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
I think he's going to go into the 20s, and then you have to look at who's going to trade back into the first round. Because I could see New York saying, you know what, we're going to take Travis Hunter at 3. But if he gets into the 20s somewhere, could a team like the Giants trade back into the first round? That's kind of what I think that they could do. Would maybe Tennessee want to give up something to trade back? One thing about Tennessee is that they gave up their third-round pick. Their 66th pick in the draft is with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So would they want to trade more draft capital to try to get Shadir Sanders, who I think is a much better fit than Cam Ward? But, of course, they're going to stick with Cam Ward. But, the Cleveland Browns, they could trade back into the first round.
Good, yeah.
You don't know, but I seriously think that if he gets past 9, he's going to slide all the way into the 20s.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll see what happens. But in the next pick, we have the New York Jets. Dan, the Jets are obviously – they had a terrible year last year. The Aaron Rodgers experiment was just an absolute disaster from the start, him tearing his Achilles in the first 4 plays. And then this year, him and Devontae Adams and the crew just didn't work out. So what do you think the Jets could do here at pick 7? Because they can go in multiple different directions. With
this pick. God, they could seriously do so many different things here. So Aaron Glenn's a first-time head coach, and he's a defensive coordinator. He was actually the first-round pick of the New York Jets. I forget what year. I want to say 95 or 96. By the way, if you're a football history junkie like I am, look up Dan Marino fake spike. and he fools Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn's the guy he beat for the touchdown throw. A little fun fact there. But so you have to kind of look at Aaron Glenn's background, and he spent the last several years in Detroit. So my guess is that he wants to kind of follow the same blueprint that the Detroit Lions did, from being one of the worst franchises in football to one of the best. Right? So how did they do that? Well, they built the offensive and defensive line. Well, you got tons of studs on the defensive line, but you need some help on the offensive line. So that's what I went. I went Armand Membu, offensive lineman out of Missouri, and I would call him an offensive lineman because I don't know where he plays. Now, they drafted Olaf Ashenu out of Penn State last year. He played on the right side. He's going to take over on the left side. He's going to be a starting left tackle. Now, Membu played right tackle at Missouri, but they also have Elijah Vera Tucker, who played left tackle at USC. They moved him over to right guard, but they kicked him out to right tackle last year, and he played really well.
Right.
Who plays right tackle? Who plays right guard? I don't think it matters. I think you just have to get good offensive linemen in here. And I thought there's about 10 different players. I'm not exaggerating. There's about 10 different players I thought about picking here, but the Lions built their team inside out. And I want to believe that Aaron Glenn, in order to have a chance, is going to look at what the Lions did to revitalize their franchise and say, hey, you know what really started everything was drafting Penei Sewell. And after you got Penei Sewell, maybe the best right tackle in football, I think he's the best right tackle in football, draft a guy very similar in Membu, put him on the right side. Now you got two young, super talented tackles. You get a super talented quarterback. I forget where he went to college at. And in Justin Fields, and you have a chance because the defense is loaded with studs. Now you have the offensive line, and you need a good offensive line. I mean, take a look at the two teams in the Super Bowl, great offensive lines. So I'm thinking that's what you do here. But there's literally 10 different players I could put here and justify it. But I'm going to go with Membu out of Missouri. And I'm calling him an offensive lineman because I don't know if he's going to play guard, tackle. I don't know if he's playing left or right tackle. But my guess is that he'll come in and be the day one starter at right tackle.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I pretty much have the Jets picking Membu as well. I mean, if you look at the situation Fields has been in with the Steelers and with the Bears behind the offensive lines were not good when he was at.
No.
And he's taking a lot of hits. So, like, if you're the New York Jets, like, you cannot screw this up, in my opinion. Especially, we all know how Justin Fields loves to use his legs and stuff like that. In order for Justin Fields to even have a chance to be successful in New York, you got to establish the offense. He only gave up, like, 3 sacks in his collegiate career at Missouri, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. So, like, you have to bring in someone like that to keep Fields upright at all costs. Because if Fields doesn't have protection, it's not going to matter what the Jets are going to do. Now, I'm hearing stuff as well. They might take Tyler Warren here at tight end. But, like, again, that doesn't really mean – I understand giving them, Justin Fields a target, because Justin Fields loves using his legs and extending plays. But you have to do the right thing, bring in a right tackle and Membu to establish the offensive line.
I agree completely. I mean, I think you established the offensive line. There's a Tyler Warren – defensive tackle. There's a lot of different things that you could do here. So I apologize here. I messed up here and had some background noise. I'm sorry about that. But you could pick so many different players. But like I said, when you have a new head coach, I kind of look at where you came from as a blueprint to where you're going. And so, Detroit, it all started with Penei Sewell. And Membu reminds me a lot of Penei Sewell. Not quite that good, but he's very close. He's very close.
Yeah, I agree. But anyways, with the 8th pick, we have the Carolina Panthers, and they can go in multiple different directions here as well. I mean, I'm looking at a situation, Bryce Young being at quarterback. I think, in my opinion, you got to surround him with as much talent offensively as possible. Now, I'm hearing a lot of Jalen Walker here. I'm also hearing a lot of Ted McMillan here. I mean, I think Ted McMillan would fit perfectly for that Panthers offense. I mean, you're talking about the best receiver coming out of college. Now, there are some concerns. I don't know if any of y'all seen the video of Ted McMillan talking about he doesn't watch tape and all that stuff. I mean, I think that's blown to proportion. I think Ted McMillan has talent to be a really good wide receiver at the next level. I think, given where the Panthers are, you got to give Bryce Young as much talent offensively as possible. So I have them going with Ted McMillan here at number 8. Like I said, give Bryce Young another weapon on the outside. I mean, Bryce Young had a good end to last year, so why not continue to build that offense by giving him another receiver that can go next to not George? Is it George Pickens, I believe? Or
no, right now. Now, remember last year they flip flopped with the Buffalo Bills and took Xavier Legette. They got Adam Thielen. But they don't have anybody at receiver who they can say is a legit number one. Xavier Legette was one of my draft crushes, and I'm still in shock the Buffalo Bills wanted Keon Coleman over Xavier Legette. If you don't remember, the Bills and Panthers basically just flip-flop picks. The Panthers traded up so they can get Legette, and the Bills wanted Keon Coleman. And that made no sense to me. I think Xavier Legette is going to be a stud in this league, but he's a second-year player. You got Adam Thielen, who is I looked this up. Adam Thielen, 75 years old. So I'm joking. I'm joking, of course, but they really don't have a guy who can. They don't have a number one guy, so I get that. Me personally, I would go on the defensive side of the ball because they need so much help. I don't think Jadeveon Clowney's coming back to Carolina. I could be wrong about that. If he does, then I would be all aboard of Ted McMillan there, who reminds me a little bit of oh God, I can't believe I forgot his name. His name was just on the top. The kid out of Atlanta. Drafted number 8 by USC, Drake London. Drake London, yeah. Reminds me a little bit of Drake London, has that type of ability. I liked London a little better, but London, remember, missed the last 4 games of his last season at USC to a foot injury, didn't participate in the combine. And even in the training camp, there was issues about his foot. So I wouldn't blame you at all. Before the show started, me and you talked, and you showed me your mock draft. Mine's hidden. I have mine pulled up, and I'm not showing it to anybody yet. This is one pick we disagree on, but it makes perfect sense with what you're saying.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we have the New Orleans Saints picking at 9. So Dan, what do the Saints do here at pick 9?
There are a lot of things they could do. I kind of ruined it because the number one thing is that people are going to ask, is this where you want to take Shadir Sanders? And I'm going to say no. And the reason why is that I really like Spencer Rattler. I really like Spencer Rattler a lot. I think he's going to be the future. And I've always really, really liked Derek Carr. I think he was just in some bad situations there. So now you have an offensive-minded coach taking over with the Saints. So I'm going to pass on Sanders, even though it'd make a lot of sense here. It really would. I would not be at all surprised if Shadir Sanders is going to the Saints if he's available. But when I look at the Saints, you have a lot of age on that front 7. And they have not been able to get that pass rush going the last couple of years. I'm going to go with Jalen Walker, who I think could be just as good as Abdul Carter. He plays at Georgia, which runs basically an NFL type system there. The defensive players coming out of Georgia are just absolute studs. I like them maybe more than I like Nolan Smith, who of course starred for the Eagles and in that god-awful Super Bowl that everybody hated. But Jalen Walker would instantly upgrade this defense and this pass rush and makes this front 7 very formidable because there is some talent there on that front 7. It's just it's older talent. Last year they drafted, or 2 years ago, they drafted the kid out of Clemson. I'm drawing a complete blank on his name, defensive tackle, world of potential. They also brought back your buddy from Ohio State. I'm drawing Chase Young. So they bring back Young. You put Walker on the other side. You have some talent in the middle. There's some chance. You got Kalen Sanders, too, another player I really like from Kansas City. You have a chance now to have a pass rush. You instantly improve your defense. And this, by the way, this makes your secondary better, makes your linebacking core look better. And I think that you pass on the quarterback because I like what Rattler brings and I like what Derek Carr has. So if I'm the Saints, I pass on the quarterback, revitalize that defensive front. And by the way, if Walker's the guy that I think he could be, you're instantly competitive again. The Saints are very relevant in the NFC South, which I think is a very weak division at this time.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, the Saints do have a lot of age on that defense that they need to get younger in a lot of key positions. Now, I like the Jalen Walker pick. You can also go cornerback because they need help back there as well.
I thought about corner. I really did. I would go corner here. It's just that I don't think there's really that much of a difference between Abdul Carter and Jalen Walker. Walker's not the same type of athlete, but Walker has no injury issues. And I also love the fact that he played at Georgia, which is, I think, the new Alabama when it comes to defensive players. He's very well coached. He plays in an NFL system. This is a guy that's going to be NFL ready day one. It's not going to be any adjustment. Where, corner, it's a little trickier. Edge rusher is one of those positions that if you can get after the quarterback, you can get after the quarterback. Corner's a little different. And I just think if you're just doing a big board, this guy would be higher up than any of the corners available, with the exception of Travis Hunter, who I don't see how he falls to 9.
Right. That would be something right there if he did fall in line. But yeah, that's a good pick. I like that. But with the 10th pick, the Chicago Bears, obviously. Now, you look at last year, look at Caleb Williams. He took a high sack rate. 68 sacks is what he got hit last year. Basically, he took 68 sacks last year. That's a lot for a quarterback. So, if you're the Chicago Bears, if you want Caleb Williams to last the season, if you want him to be able to do the special things he's able to do with his legs and all that stuff, you got to be able to protect them. So, if I'm the Chicago Bears, I'm going with a tackle here. And I think Kelvin Banks Jr. really fits the description to what the Bears wanted to do. If you really think about Kelvin Banks Jr., what he did in Texas, I think his game would translate to the next level. And I think he would definitely keep Caleb Williams upright at the next level in the NFL. Like I said, he took a high of 68 sacks last year. Now, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, do you want Caleb Williams on his butt every single week, or do you want him to be able to make throws to his receivers and keep them protected at all costs? I think Kelvin Banks Jr. really fits the description what the Bears want to do. You could also go, if they decide not to go tackle, you could obviously go with, maybe Ashton Genty if he ends up falling here. I know the Bears need, running backs as well. But I think Ben Johnson being there, I think he's going to establish the offensive line given what he did in Detroit. I think that's what the Bears should do to be able to protect Caleb Williams going into this important second season.
Well, I don't hate that pick because Banks, I think, could be a guard or a tackle. My disagreement is that the Bears have 3 new starters on the offensive line. They got Joe Thuney from Kansas City, Drew Dahlman from Atlanta, and Jonah Jackson from the Rams. I would address a different position here, but if somehow Ashton Gentry slides to 10, I think you have to take him if you're the Bears. But you remember what I just said a few picks ago about Aaron Glenn? Well, you got Ben Johnson, who's also from Detroit, and what did they do? They went inside out. So Braxton Jones, he's the starting left tackle. He's a fine player, don't get me wrong, but Kelvin Banks has a chance to be elite. So I don't hate that. I would go in a different direction personally because you already got 3 new starters and you gave those 3 new starters a lot of money. You used first-round pick on Darnell Wright 2 years ago. I like Braxton Jones as the left tackle. He's not great. Banks could potentially be a massive upgrade. But when you already spent that much money solidifying the offensive line, use this pick right here. there are no trades. If I'm the Bears, I would actually trade down and try to stockpile some talent. But I would go in a different direction if I was the Bears. But I don't hate Banks at 10, not at all.
Right, that's a good pick. I could also see the Bears trading. I'm actually hearing stuff about how they could trade maybe 8 picks down and get that and get picks and all that stuff in return. So, we'll see what happens though. But
absolutely. I mean, you could do a lot of different things here if you're the Bears, but we're not doing trades. I don't hate Banks at all. I would go in a different direction. But here's the thing about Banks: he could be an elite left tackle in the NFL. Some people think that. Some people think he's a guard. I think he's a tackle. And if you have good offensive linemen, there's no team's ever said, well, we have too many good offensive linemen. Let me throw this out. When if he doesn't start day one and he just practices and gets better? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a backup swing tackle who has the potential to start on either side of the ball. He did start his college career at guard. And Joe Thuney, by the way, I mean, the Chiefs got rid of him because he's on the last year of his contract. He's going to be 33 when the season starts. Why not surround that offensive line with good players? There's nothing wrong with that. I like the pick. I would go in a different direction. But I do like the pick.
Yeah, that's a good one. And don't forget, too, Braxton Jones, who is currently the Bears' starting left tackle, is obviously limited due to it. He's had surgery, so he's probably going to miss some time with the season. So that's pretty much why I have the Bears. Because, like I say, he's had injuries and stuff, so that's why I have the Bears going with.
Yeah, he's had some injuries. I think he's going to be the day one starter at left tackle unless they go with Banks, and then they'll compete. But that's I think Braxton Jones, and keep in mind, I think he'll be ready for the start of the season. We don't know that, so
we'll find out. We
will find out.
Yeah, but anyways, so Dan, the San Francisco 49ers are at pick 11 here. They finished with a 6-11 record last season, very disappointing season. So what do you think the 49ers should do here at pick 11?
You know what? There's some really good players that are on the board here. But here's the deal. When I look at the San Francisco 49ers, 3 defensive coordinators in 3 years, and their defense was terrible last year, just absolutely terrible. So what do? You wisely and smartly bring Robert Saleh back, right? You bring Robert Saleh back. And so you have to give him a player. A lot of people think that you go offensive line here. I'm not one of them. I don't go offense at all with San Francisco. I bring back Robert Saleh. I need to bring back somebody to help him. And I see you got the edge rushers pulled up, right? I see you got the edge rushers, and you're thinking to yourself, edge rusher here, and it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, and I'll tell you why. Walter Nolan is the only defensive tackle that can win one-on-one matchups. And so you got Nick Bosa on the outside. This is a very deep edge rusher draft. You can get an edge rusher in round 2, maybe even round 3. But Walter Nolan, he's not going to be available. I know that PFF has him ranked as like the 30th best player, and it is a little bit of a reach. But Walter Nolan in this wide 9 defense is a plug and play and a perfect fit. It's like a hand in the glove. He will cause a ton of problems in this type of defense because all he's going to do is you're going to line them up. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to line them up in what's called the C gap, and that's between the guard and the tackle. And he's going to go one-on-one against guards, and he's going to win a lot of matchups. Walter Nolan is going to be a problem. He's low on PFF. Like you're just going, where the hell is he? But I really think that since you got Nick Bosa, give him some help on the inside, because when the 49ers defense was really good, what did they have? They had Eric Armstead. They had Preston Buckner. And as soon as they got rid of those guys, all of a sudden the 49ers defense is complete cow poo-poo. So get a defensive tackle that can win one-on-one matchups. I think he's going to go a lot higher than – and by the way, don't even get me started on how much I hate PFF. Their rankings are idiotic because Walter Nolan, you're still probably trying to find him. But, no, you got him. Yeah.
I got him, yeah.
Yeah. But I really think that you go inside out. It's kind of a shock pick, but look at what this team is going to do defensively. What's their biggest problem is defensive tackles. They've tried in free agency. It hasn't worked. Trying to draft really talented player. And I think it'll be a great fit. Don't be surprised he ends up being a Pro Bowl player sooner than later.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick. I actually agree with 49ers going on the defense side of the ball. They could also go with an edge rusher. I'm looking at this guy right here. I'm looking at Shamar Stewart. I mean, I could see, because given what Robert Saleh did with the Jets were a top 5 defense before the Jets got rid of him. Now, ever since the Jets got rid of him, their defense is taking a major step back. Just look at what happened.
The one thing about Stewart, and it just, I've been really obsessed with this guy because I keep watching tape on him. And I like what I see, but I can't get over 4.5 sacks in 3 years. So here's the deal with NIL: college players can now have agents.
Mm-hmm.
This is terrible to say, but if Shadir Stewart had 9.5 or 10 sacks last year, and then he had that combine, we're talking about where in the top 5 does he go? That's the thing. And why hasn't somebody told him, just forget about stuff in the run, forget about this, just get a few sacks and you're going top 5 with that combine. Now we have no idea where to put him. I actually have a huge man crush on oh God, I was drawing a blank. I like James Pierce, but Mike Green is the guy that I absolutely love. Mike Green in that defense would be really good. Yeah. I think you were thinking Mike Green, this San Francisco, if I remember right.
Yeah, Mike Green. It can Mike Green or Shamar Stewart, one of those guys. That would be just solid.
You can go with a lot. The reason why I like defensive tackle is because there's not too many in this draft. I really think that there's going to be a good edge rusher that's going to be available in the second round. It wouldn't surprise me. San Francisco has a ton of draft picks this year. It wouldn't surprise me if San Francisco tries to get back late in round 1 and grab one of these guys if they start to fall.
Exactly. Yeah, that'll be good. I think that's pretty much their identity is more on the defensive side of the ball.
I think so.
I think their offense. Yeah, I agree with that. But with the next pick here, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who also had this point into last year. They didn't really do much this offseason in terms of trying to bring guys in, try to better the team. I don't. So this is tough for Dallas. I don't know what they do here, to be honest. I'm looking at wide receiver. I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb, obviously, who is their best wide receiver on the team. I mean, wouldn't it be crazy to put somebody next to him who can take pressure off of him? I mean,
no. I love the idea of a wide receiver here for Dallas, because you got one guy in CeeDee Lamb. Brandon Cooks is gone. He wasn't the same guy. They had a guy. I want to say it was Jalen Walker. They drafted him out of South Alabama a couple of years ago because he had size, speed. Just hasn't really panned out. I love the idea of a wide receiver in Dallas. I think it's a great move.
Yeah, I just looking at it. That just seems like a Jerry Jones type of move. So, I mean, look, I've been mocking this player to Dallas. It just seems like there's something they would do. I'm going to go with a speedster, Matthew Golden from Texas. I think that's a phenomenal pick. I mean, you compare him with CeeDee Lamb. I think it's going to take a lot of pressure off of CeeDee Lamb for having to do everything. Matthew Golden's a guy that can extend the field, who can separate. And I just think he fits into what Dallas wants to do, especially offensively, because, their offense, I mean, I think Dak Prescott will have a field day with Golden on his side.
Oh, I agree completely. I love this pick because you get a guy who can take the 4.29 speed. You can't make that up. You can't make that up. Now, I'll be honest. I've watched him play a handful of times. He doesn't look like he runs a 4.29 to games I've seen, but he can. But the hands, the route running ability, all those things show up. And also like the fact, I don't like this for all NFL teams, but I like it for Dallas because it's more of a marketing thing. The huge getting a Texas player. I'll be honest, if Banks was available at 12, that's something I would want to do. In this draft, he's off the board, so you can't go offensive line. You can go Tyler Booker also, which makes a lot of sense.
You could do, yeah. I
love this. You can go Tyler Booker. You can go Omarion Hampton, the running back out of UNC. I wouldn't do that either. But I love this pick here because you give CeeDee Lamb some help.
Yeah.
You give Dak Prescott some help. And with the deep speed, I think it makes the running game better because you can't put that safety in the box when you got a home run threat. And I like Golden quite a bit. So I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, they could also go with a guy like maybe Tyler Warren here, because I mean, look at the tight end spot. I mean, that could work too.
They got a pretty good tight end in Dallas, but he's not. I mean, Tyler Warren. Some people think that he's the third best player in the draft. I'm not one of those guys, but I could see it. I mean, you could go Warren, you could go corner. There's a lot of different things that you could do here, but I really like Golden here for the Dallas Cowboys. I also really like taking a Texas kid. I don't like this for all teams, but I do like it for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what Dallas does come draft night here. But next pick, we have the Miami Dolphins, who are sitting at 13th. Dan, I mean, I'm looking at the situation with Tua being the quarterback. Like I said last year, I think it was a massive mistake giving him that extension.
Now, I said the same thing.
Yeah.
If you didn't give him the extension and Shadir Sanders was available, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
This is an absolute no-brainer. Last year, what they did is they drafted Chop Robinson in the first round, a player who I liked, but I really thought that they were loaded with pass rushers. That was the one thing they did have quite a bit of is pass rushers. So I didn't understand that pick, especially when you had your left tackle as threatening retirement. So this is, to me is a problem. Miami is a weird team, and they kind of do things a little different. So I have no idea what Miami is going to do in this draft because they have holes on defense. You can go Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. I think that would make a lot of sense. That would be a plug and play guy. You can go secondary. Both safeties I think are going somewhere in round one are available. Both of them would be great fits here. But I'm going to go with Tyler Booker, the guard out of Alabama. And the reason why is that you absolutely got to protect Tua. Now, if Kelvin Banks was available, I would probably go Kelvin Banks here because I think that they would rather have somebody who has guard tackle potential. Tyler Booker is 100% an NFL guard. But it's one of those things where you really just got to protect Tua to take the best offensive lineman available. I think it's Tyler Booker. Again, this is kind of what I would do. I have no idea what Miami's going to do because there's a bunch of holes on defense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, I don't think the offense is the issue with this team because we all know they have Tyreek Hill and Jen Wall and crew. It's just a matter of can they stop anyone defense or can they just keep Tua protected? That's the main thing. I think he's one concussion away from retiring. That's just me. Because he already took him two.
I really think he should retire. I really do, and I know it sounds terrible. I'll throw out another name here is Josh Simmons out of your school, who I think is a great prospect. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The Arizona tackle that was from Ohio State here. Let me pull this up. I'm drawing a blank on a lot of names, so I apologize ahead of time. Paris Johnson Jr. I actually thought Simmons looked better than Paris Johnson Jr. And Paris Johnson Jr., remember, the Cardinals traded back up to 6. He was a 6 overall pick. And I thought Simmons looked better. But remember, he had that surgery. Now, that could be the pick if you're 100% sold on the medical. But the thing is with Tyler Booker is plug and play day one starter. If you think Simmons can regain that form and you're 100% sold on him, that might be the pick. But because of the medical, I'm going with Booker instead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if Simmons didn't get that injury last year, I think he would be somewhere inside the top 20 for sure. I think he's going to slide somewhere in the late 20s in the first round.
That's kind of what I see. Like I said, the Cardinals took Paris Johnson Jr. and I thought it was a reach at 6, but I thought Simmons looked better. So you have a guy that was the 6th overall pick. This guy looked better, but he's coming off of an injury. So, but Miami's a team that does some weird stuff. So, I mean, we'll have to kind of wait and see.
Right, exactly. Yeah, definitely. I think the Dolphins should consider that just based off of Tua's concussion history and stuff like that. You got to protect them.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I'm Miami, your number one need is to protect Tua. But I really thought they could have gone offensive line last year and they went in edge rusher, a position I thought they were loaded in. So who knows what they'll do.
Right. All right. So that wraps up for Miami. So the next pick, we have the Indianapolis Colts here. And honestly, I think this is a no-brainer. I think you have to surround Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, who is also there as well, competing for the starting job. I mean, you have to go with Tyler Warren here. I mean, the tight end from Penn State. I mean, given what he did at Penn State, Anthony Richardson would absolutely have a field day with this dude on the offensive side. This dude can block. This dude can catch. He doesn't drop many passes. He's someone you can rely upon in the end zone. I think the Colts should absolutely grab a tight end. If Tyler Warren somehow ends up gone, let's say the Jets or someone picks him up earlier, you can go with Colston Loveland here as well. I was getting ready to say Loveland here might be the pick. If you remember, their general manager is from Kansas City. He was in Kansas City when they chose an unknown tight end out of the University of Cincinnati called Travis Kelce. And Loveland reminds me a lot more of Kelce than Tyler Warren, but I agree 100% with you. If Warren's available, I think that's the pick. Let me. You know what? I don't like doing this when I'm on when I have guests on my show, but since I'm a guest, I'm gonna do it to you here. Question, surprise question for you here, Keaton. Who's going to be the day one starting quarterback for the Colts? Is it going to be Daniel Jones or is it going to be Anthony Richardson? It's a loaded question, man.
I know it's a dirty trick. You have to be as a guest, and I do you like this. I should have.
I think it has to be. No, that's a good question. I think it's gonna be Richardson. Just because I'm looking at the situation. I think Daniel Jones, he's thrown some terrible. He's had some good moments last year, the Giants, but he's thrown some really bad interceptions last year. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Anthony Richardson. Okay, we all know he has the arm talent to throw the ball down the field. Right, he has legs to be able to extend plays. I'm looking at a quarterback like Richardson, his play style. I think Tyler Warren would fit the description because if he's able to scramble out of the pocket and he finds Tyler Warren down the field, and like I say, Tyler Warren can create mismatches everywhere on defense. So I think Richardson would be the starting quarterback. But I could be right. It could be Daniel Jones, but I think given what Tyler Warren does and his play style, I think Richardson would definitely benefit off of that.
Yeah, you get a tight end, and by the way, they can go Tyler Warren, they can go Loveland out of Michigan, they can go either one, and this helps Anthony Richardson out tremendously. But I would also go Warren because who's the best player on your team? It's Jonathan Taylor.
Takes pressure off him.
That can block. Get a guy that can block, and that improves Taylor's ability as well. So I'm 100% on board with this pick.
Right. Exactly. I think it's a no-brainer for that Colts offense. So Dan, the Falcons are up at 15. Now I said last year that the Falcons should have gone with edge rusher. I was you and I were on the same page when it said
we were 100% on the same page. I'm still in shock that after giving Cousins all that money, they went quarterback because Dallas Turner seemed like plug and play.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
And by the way, they traded. I can't believe this is like the fifth time I forgot somebody's name, and it's one of my all-time favorite players, former New England Patriot. Help me out here. He was with Atlanta last year, but he was a Patriots before. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. I'm so embarrassed about it. But here's the deal: the Atlanta Falcons gave up a third-round pick for. And the name's just – I can't believe I'm forgetting the guy's name, one of my favorite players here. They gave up a 3rd-round pick. I'm gonna look it up because I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. I was literally just thinking about him. But the Atlanta Falcons last year traded a 3rd-round pick to the New England Patriots to try to get some pass rush help. Matthew Judon. I can't believe I forgot his name. I'm so embarrassed. Yeah. So they don't have a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft, right? You have got to improve the pass rush. I like Mike Green a lot, but for those of you that don't know, he was at the University of Virginia. There was a sexual assault charge. He transferred to Marshall. Atlanta, as a general rule of thumb, are going to probably rule out players that have off-field issues. Mike Green could slide in this draft because of that. I think that if there were no off-field issues, I think the pick would be Mike Green. I'm going to go with James Pierce here as the pick, and I love James Pierce. I looked at a ton of mock drafts before the season started that James Pierce is the number one pick in the draft. Just lit up the combine. He's long, he's lean, he's explosive. I think he fits like a hand in a glove for what Atlanta wants and needs. They need to get somebody. Again, if Mike Green was completely clean, I would put him there in Atlanta. Atlanta basically, after the Michael Vick thing, they've been really avoiding players with any sort of a possibility of criminal past. So yeah, I'm going to go with James Pierce, who, by the way, is for him at 15, you get great value.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's a great pick. I mean, I'm looking at, like I said, the Falcons should have gone edge rusher last year. I don't think they're going to make the same mistake. Hopefully not again. They need help at getting to the quarterback. The offense wasn't the issue last year because they could put up points in their sleep. It was just they couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. And that was the main reason why they ended up missing the playoffs last year. So I think getting James Pierce Jr. would be a bad fit. I think he fits in to what the Falcons want to do. You could also go Mike Green would also be great pick here as well. So I wouldn't blame them for picking either one of these guys for that to help that defense out.
No, I wouldn't either. So but like I said, the only reason I'm going with Pierce, who I think is ranked like this much lower, is just because of the off-field issue.
Right, exactly. So we'll see what happens there in Atlanta at 15. So next pick, we have the Arizona Cardinals, which if you look at their situation last season, they really, if you look at their path, they couldn't generate pass rush to save their life last year on defense. That was the main reason why they ended up not making the playoffs last season. Offense is not the issue. Kyle Murray, obviously, is their quarterback and stuff like that. So their
do they have any receivers? Does Arizona have any receivers?
Oh, they got a receiver. The Cardinals got they got wide receivers for sure. They definitely got wide receivers. That's not the issue though. They can, like I said, they can put up points in their sleep, but the defense though was the issue last year. If you look at their Marvin Harrison Jr., yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But anyways, the Cardinals, they need help, I believe, at defensive end. I think Kenneth Grant would also look great here as well to help that defense get some pass rush, and obviously someone you can plug in the middle. Let's see. Mike Green would also look great here as well. I mean, like I said, the Cardinals they're one of the worst pass rushing units last year. I'm gonna go with Mike Green here to the Arizona Cardinals at pick 16. I think that's a great pick for that defense. Like I say, you need help against the quarterback consistently. If your offense can just continue doing their thing on their side and their defense can get some pass rush and just be an average, you don't have to be the best defense, but just be an average defense, be in the middle of the pack. I think Mike Green could definitely help establish that. So I think given what he did at Marshall, I think he can definitely translate, or his game could translate to the next level and help the Cardinals tremendously on defense.
I agree 100%. They drafted Darius Robinson last year, but he's more of a stereotypical 5 technique. He played defensive end at Missouri, but he's not your edge rusher type. This guy would just wreak havoc, and I really like this pick a lot. I think it's a great pick.
Gotcha. I think that's what they need to do, especially if they want, they're obviously, I always say the NFC West is a tough division. People call me crazy for that, but it is a tough division. Look at
it. It's a very tough division, and You got some really good quarterbacks in that division. Now keep in mind Sam Darnold, who knows what he's going to do there in Seattle, but you got Brock Purdy who's getting ready to break the bank sooner or later, and you got Matthew Stafford who's going to walk into Canton one of these days. And what kept them out of the playoffs was the lack of pass rush. Well, you fix that. So you have a chance with a guy like this. By the way, don't be surprised if Mike Green wins Defensive Rookie of the Year and has something like 12 or 13 sacks. I think he could have that type of production.
I think, that would not surprise me either. I think he's that special of a talent on his side of the ball.
I think so too.
Yeah, I agree with that. So with the next pick, Dan, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, obviously, the issue with this team last year was their offense could put up 30 points in their sleep. That wasn't the issue. The issue was their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Like, if you look at go back to the Ravens game, gave up 45 points at home in overtime. Their defense was the main thing. If you look at Joe Burrow had one of the best seasons statistically as a quarterback last year. Jamar Chase had one of the best statistical seasons at wide receiver. And you would think you would have that type of production at your quarterback and wide receiver spots. You'd be a playoff team. But the defense wasn't even average last year. If you just been average last year, the Bengals would have been a playoff team, probably over Pittsburgh. So
I 100% agree with you, Keaton. You're just spitting facts here, and the defense was so terrible, and so what they did is they brought in a new defensive coordinator. They're going to bring in kind of a new scheme. The thing is with this. There's no guarantee that Hendrickson's going to come back. The Bengals are trying to work something out, but you just gave almost $250 million to your wide receivers. So I don't know if you can or can't do that. And you pulled up some really great edge rushers here that makes a lot of sense, but I'm going to go in a completely different direction here. And I'm going to go with I'm going to butcher the name here, Jahai Barrow, a corner out of Texas. And one thing that PFF, I hate PFF with a passion, but they have him as the 7th ranked player. I like that because this guy's a top 10 player in this draft. He can play outside. He can play inside. He's not afraid to tackle. Off the field, everybody raved about his leadership. And this is a guy that you can get a little creative with where you want to play him at. Now, remember, they took Dax Hill. He was supposed to be the safety because I really want them to get a safety, but Dax Hill played better at corner. Maybe you move him back to safety. You could draft Barrow here, maybe put him at safety. I don't know, but this defense was awful. Get the best defensive player available. Don't overthink this. Barrow shouldn't be available. And seriously, I feel bad because I'm going to go over this mock draft and where should Barrow be? Because he shouldn't be available at 17. But he is available at 17. Why? I don't know. But this is a huge win for the Cincinnati Bengals here. Best defensive player on the board, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's not bad. Like I said, you can go cornerback here, like I said, because they were getting burnt on the back.
I really want to take Josh Simmons, the guard out of Ohio State who kicked out the tackle and played awesome at tackle. I really want to put him there because I want to protect Joe Burrow. But I think you could find a way to get another guard in this draft. The way this mock draft falls, Barrow should not be available at 17. He should not fall out of the top 15. You get a guy this guy's going to be good. No matter where he goes, he's going to be really good.
Yeah, I agree. Especially given what he did at Texas. And I think he could definitely help that Bengals defense tremendously. You can also go with an edge rusher here. I'm looking at edge for the Bengals.
I know. I want to go edge too, because there's some really good edge rushers there. And by the way, Chris Hubbard retired. Hendrickson, you may or may not. By the way, if Hendrickson is gone and he's gone, I'm going edge. But being that here's the deal: if you take Barrow at 17, you have to bring Henderson back, give him $30 million a year, figure it out.
Right.
But he's too good to be available. And by the way, the Bengals could also trade back into round 1 and get an edge rusher. Maybe they can get like in the late 20s, or they trade up in round 2. And one of these guys that you're looking at here, one of these guys could fall out of round 1, believe it or not. And then the Bengals might have to figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that's a great point. I mean, if they were to go edge rusher, I'm looking at either Michael Williams from Georgia or Donovan E from Boston College. I think Donovan E from Boston College is going to be really good as well.
I think he's going to be really good. And I love Mikael Williams. I mean, that guy has no ceiling. I mean, that guy, seriously, that guy has absolutely no ceiling. He has absolutely no ceiling at all. Same thing with Stewart. It's just that the only reason Stewart's still available is in 3 years he had 4.5 sacks. That to me is a huge red flag. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that one. That's a great pick. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bengals do there for that defense. But we got the next pick. We have the Seattle Seahawks here, pick 18. Now I'm looking at the situation. You got rid of Geno Smith. Okay, you brought in Sam Darnold at quarterback. Now, in order for Sam Darnold, I've been saying this for a while. In order for Sam Darnold to have success, you got to surround him with talent offensively. Now, they need help at the guard position. They also need help at wide receiver. If you think about the wide receiver crew, you got rid of DK Metcalf. You don't have Tyler Lockett there no more. So what better way than to bring – I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba currently is their number one receiver. But you could bring in someone else.
He's pretty good.
He's pretty good. He is pretty good. I agree. You can also bring in somebody else to, like, take pressure off of him because he's going to be the vocal point. Like, if you don't get a receiver here and he's your number one, they're going to put all the attention on him.
So why not go? Don't forget you brought in Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, too. Yeah, that's a good point. But
I agree with you, though. You can't bank on Cooper Kupp, but I do like the fact that they brought him in, and I love the fact that you bring him in from a division rival.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense here as well. I mean, Gray Zabel would be good. I mean, I don't know if they would actually take him that high. I think it's a little bit too early. But I'm looking at receiver here. I mean, I'm just looking at Mecca Ibuka would look good here as well, man. I mean,
Ohio State Buckeyes would be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mecca Ibuka. I think that makes a lot of sense for Seattle. I mean, again, I know you need help with guard, but I don't know if they will take guard at 18. I think they would trade. If the Seahawks really want guard, I think they would trade back a little bit to get their guard. I think they need wide receiver because I think as good as Cooper Kupp is, he has been dealing with some injuries and stuff like that. So you never know when he's going to be available or not. So bringing in Mecca Ibuka who can separate, given what Ohio State is really good when it comes to developing wide receivers. Them going to the next level, Ohio State is just where it's at for Seattle. I think they need to go that route in order to surround Sam Darnold offensively in order for him to flourish at quarterback.
Keaton talks sports like Ohio State wide receivers. I'm shocked. I would go in a different direction personally, but I don't hate it at all because what you do is that if Cooper Kupp can come back and be 80% of what he was. Jackson Smith-Njigba was one of my major draft crushes. There's no ceiling on how good he could be. Then all of a sudden you team him up with his Ohio State teammate, and good luck. Because all three of these guys have the potential to be number one wide receivers in the league. Kenneth Walker can play. I mean, there's some real weapons that you have. And by the way, you're a defensive-minded coach. So I would go defense personally, but look, you put Becca. I'm gonna butcher that last name. You take the Ohio State wide receiver. Yeah, you take the Ohio State wide receiver with the other Ohio State wide receiver. You got so many weapons. If you're Seattle, here's what you're doing. You're saying, hey, look, we're going to score 30. Good luck. And I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, we'll see what Seattle does here. I mean, that's an interesting team. Seattle is actually one of my favorite teams to watch, honestly. I think, they're an interesting team in a competitive division. Finished 10-7 last year, missed the playoff, which is, honestly, that's kind of crazy to me. You finish 10-7 and you're not a playoff team. That's actually crazy. But we'll see what they do come 2025. But anyways, Dan, next up is Tampa Bay Buccaneers at pick 19. What do they go here with this pick?
The problem is that I could see them going in a couple different directions, and it's kind of funny because the player that I'm going through my mock draft, and I know who the player is, and I can't believe I left them off my mock draft. I think I messed up on my own mock draft. I'm going through my mock draft, and I just realized I made a big mistake here. But here's a drill here. I could easily go receiver because Mike Evans' best days are long behind him. The other wide receiver there, just coming off of a knee injury, another name I'm just drawing a complete blank on, and I'm so embarrassed about it. I'm drawing a lot of blanks on name. Yeah, Chris Godwin, the kid they drafted out of Washington last year, a guy that I really, really, really like, Jalen McMillan. I had to look this up here because I'm embarrassed about dropping so many names here, but I'm looking at this team now. You signed Hassan Reddick to a 1-year deal, right? Mm-hmm. You got a chance, but if I'm looking at this team and there's a player in this draft that I really, really, really like, and I'm a little surprised he's on the board, but this is going to be my pick, and it's Nick Amarori, safety out of South Carolina. And here's the deal. He might eventually be a linebacker. And in Todd Bowles' system, he would be a perfect linebacker. But here's the deal. You put him with Antoine Winfield, you got two safeties that can do anything in this defense. I want to go edge rusher, but I'm not going to. Nick Amarori is a guy that I think could be long gone at this time, but he's available in this mock draft. I'm looking at my own mock draft. I think I forgot to put him in here because I'm looking around. And I think I messed up. I have to redo my mock draft because I don't think I have him on here. But this is a guy that should be long gone. 230 had like a, what did he run? A 4.39 at the combine?
Yeah,
it's something ridiculous at a 40-something inch vertical. And here's the thing, it shows up on tape. Like, this isn't a guy who just aced the combine and it's not a first-round player on film. He's a first-round player on film. Look, you put him in with Anton Winfield, this could be the best safety duo in football. You could also go Starks out of Georgia, but Amarori is a guy that I think has a slightly higher ceiling. And since he's available, I just say go with him. But if you went Starks and said I could deal with that, I'm not mad.
Right, that's a good one. I mean, Nick Amarori, like I said, very physical corner. You said 230 plus pounds. I mean, that's a team. I mean, I don't think he's gonna actually. He's in the right spot here because I don't think he's gonna I don't think he'll still be available around here. I think
he could. I could see some of these teams, and I'm looking at. Because I'm looking at Miami at 13, right? Javon Holland left in free agency. Yeah. I could see Miami. As a matter of fact, I almost picked him at 13 for Miami. I almost picked him at 13, but I personally, I went in a different direction. But I'm protecting Tua, but Amarori's probably a better player. Like if I was going to do a big board. But right. I think that's kind of where you're looking at, where Amarori could go is 13 to Miami. But I think you're getting a good player here, and you pair him up with Antoine Winfield, who 2 years ago was the best safety in football. He had some injuries last year, but I love it.
Right.
Stark, you could also put Starks in there. It's whichever one you like more. But the thing is, Amarori, I actually think you could just walk him up to the line of scrimmage and say good luck.
Exactly. Yeah, he's that gifted of a player, especially as
just good luck. Yeah, he could be covering your slot receiver. He could be covering your tight end. He could be stuffing the run. He could be blitzing, or he could just fall back into coverage. You can have a lot of fun with a guy like that, and I think it would be a lot of fun for the Tampa Bay defense.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. So definitely, that's a good pick there for Tampa Bay. So with the next pick, we got the Denver Broncos sitting at 20 here. Now I'm looking at this situation with the Broncos. Obviously, Bo Nix he definitely surprised me in his rookie season. I didn't think he would have the rookie season that he had last year. He definitely came out. He surprised me a lot, given what he did at Oregon. Coming into the Denver Broncos, I didn't think he was in the right situation at first, given what the Broncos did the year before. But they made the playoffs and all that stuff. That's definitely something they can build upon. So I think in order for Bo Nix to continue his success with the Broncos, especially going into his important second year. You got to surround him on offense, and you can go wide receiver here because they also need help there as well. Give him more weapons on the outside. Luther Burden wouldn't be a bad fit there.
No,
as well.
that would be a great pick, actually.
That would be a great pick. But I'm looking at the running back position, and Amari Hampton, that just seems like the fit. I'm looking at the running back right now. I think that would definitely take a lot of pressure off of Bo Nix. Obviously, we don't know what Bo Nix can do. He can extend plays with his legs, but getting Amari Hampton to establish that run game, I think that's something Sean Payton has talked about. He would definitely consider bringing him in. I think the Broncos fans definitely want him there as well. Like I said, but you could also go wide receiver in Luther Burden, or let's say if I doubt Matthew Golden's going to be here at 20. I think he's going to be gone within the top 15. But Mamaka Buka would also look good here as well. Just give Bo Nix enough talent, give him more weapons on the outside to work with going to his second year. But Amari Hampton here, I think it's a phenomenal fit because you also have a passing game, but you also can establish the run, and you have a solid defense as well. So if you have all those things to your disposal, the Broncos are going to be a problem in 2025.
I would go in a different direction personally because Austin Estamine, he was their 5th-round pick last year. And the only reason he was a 5th-round pick is he ran a 4.72 at the combine. I think he's going to be 1,000-yard back. I mean, he ended up being the starter the last couple of games of the season. They still got Jameel McLaurin. So I would go in a different direction, but I don't hate this at all because this is a guy that can be a 3-down back, and this instantly helps your young quarterback because what you want to do is you have a really good defense, right? You have a young quarterback. Why not give him the best available running back in the draft? And that would be Amari Hampton. Now, all of a sudden, this opens up everything because this is a powerful running back. You got to put some bodies up on that offensive line. This opens up the play action pass. This does a lot of good things. I would go in a different direction personally, but I really do like this pick.
And who would you go here at 20 if you had to pick?
I would actually, to tell you the truth, I'm really surprised Starks is available. And I would definitely go with Starks because I think that's a plug and play, and this instantly makes your defense a top 10 defense. If I didn't go Starks, though, Luther Burden would look really good in this offense. He would look really, really good in this offense. But I would go with those two guys. I would pass on a running back just because I like Austin Estamine. If I probably won't be able to, but if I get a chance to do a fantasy football guide, I'm going to tell people in the middle rounds, Austin Estamine, he was a 5th-round pick out of Notre Dame. The only reason he was a 5th-round pick is he had a bad 40 time. He didn't run like a 4.7 guy at Notre Dame, and he looked really good. Once he got the opportunity to start, he looked really good, and I think he's going to be a surprise 1,000-yard back. But if Hampton comes in, these two guys will split carries, and the running game will be very good, so I don't hate this pick at all.
Gotcha. That's a good pick for Denver. I mean, they can go wide receiver as well. Luther Burden. There's some people that have him slipping out of the first round, which I don't really understand. I mean, I
don't think he gets out of the first round. I just 230-pound backs with speed that can catch the ball should never go out of round one. No matter, even though this is a very deep running back draft, guys this special shouldn't go out for round one.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So with the next pick, Dan, the Pittsburgh Steelers are picking 21 now. There's some things. A lot of Steelers fans are pretty split with Mike Tomlin being their head coach. They really want him gone. There's some that want him to stay there and continue to build this team. But like, if you look at the Steelers, the past like 3-4 years, they've been they've gotten in as a wild card team. They started off hot last year and they lost their last like 5 games. So what do they do here at pick 21? Because I mean, you got rid of Justin Fields. Mm-hmm. I honestly don't know what the Steelers, what direction Steelers go here. So I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this.
I think Aaron Rodgers is option number 1. But I'm going to tell you what, the pick here is with Rodgers or without Rodgers. And here's where you draft Shadir Sanders. If Shadir Sanders is available, I think he's the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I wanted to ruin this earlier, but this is where if Shadir Sanders gets past the Saints, I don't think he gets past Pittsburgh. And I think Pittsburgh really likes Jalen Milroe, the quarterback out of Alabama. but we're not doing trades here. I'm not picking Milroe at 21. That doesn't make any sense. But
yeah,
could the Steelers trade out of round 1 back into round 2 and pick up Jalen Milroe in round 2? Absolutely. And I think they could do that. But if Shadir Sanders is available at 21, which I think he very well could be, I think you draft him even if you pick up Aaron Rodgers, because for the first time in a long time, you get your quarterback. Now, I thought I have no idea why. I was just literally talking about him. He's now with the Browns. I literally just said his name about 30 minutes ago. Yeah, Kenny Pickett. I don't know why Kenny Pickett didn't work. I have no clue. I really have no clue.
Honestly,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe you know something I don't.
I mean, I thought Mason Rudolph wasn't even that bad for the Steelers.
No, matter of fact, I thought Mason Rudolph should have stayed. They should have rolled with Mason Rudolph. I don't know why they never gave him a chance. I don't know why they didn't like Kenny Pickett. But even if Aaron Rodgers signs, I still think you draft Shadir Sanders, and I say this is going to be your guy. Because you got DK Metcalf, you got George Pickens. You can get a running back later in the draft. You don't even have to trade out of round 3. There's going to be a good running back in round 3, but I think they're going to trade up to get a running back. But the way this mock draft works, I think Shadir Sanders is the pick. Even if Aaron Rodgers signs with Pittsburgh, I still think you go with Sanders. But here's the deal. You draft Sanders, you don't have to bank on Aaron Rodgers. I think you could roll with Shadir Sanders as your day 1 starter, and I think you could win some games.
Could, yeah. I mean, and also another thing they could do is, I mean, if you feel like, I mean, we all know when it comes to rookie quarterbacks, you know, some rookie quarterbacks are ready to play immediately. Some are just simply not, just given the situation. Now, I think if Pittsburgh brings in Aaron Rodgers, like, you know, the Steelers are going to try to win as many games as possible. Again, just given what Mike Tomlin likes to do. Yeah. So I think, you know, it wouldn't be bad. I just find it hard to see Shadir Sanders sitting the year, just given, like, if he's in Pittsburgh, given what he has around him, you have DK Metcalf there now. You have the supporting cast at the wide receiver spot, and you have a solid defense. Like, it's kind of hard to see me seeing Shadir Sanders sitting a year, even if Aaron, because I mean, Aaron Rodgers isn't the same player. I think
how long is Aaron Rodgers going to play anyway? I mean, is Aaron Rodgers going to be a 5-year player for Pittsburgh? No, he's going to play 2 years max. You got Shadir Sanders waiting in the wings, and by the way, what happens if Aaron Rodgers goes down, just like he did 2 years ago? Well, you got your replacement right here, and I think Sanders would fit perfect with Pittsburgh, because one thing you talked about is that there's a lot of quarterbacks you don't know what they're going to be like. I think Shadir Sanders is NFL ready. I just don't want to take him at number 3. I think the Saints are going to go in a different direction. I think he's going to fall. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh trades pick 21 with somebody else, like maybe the Browns or the Giants or whoever, if they want to trade back into round 1, because I do know that they love Jalen Milroe. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh tries to draft Milroe. Just I don't see him doing it at 21.
Yeah, I agree. I can see them definitely doing that. So we'll see what happens. Pittsburgh's definitely an interesting team, given what, you know, how the season ended last year. We'll see how they bounce back in 2025, and we'll see what they do here at pick 21. I think if Sanders is available, I think Pittsburgh has to take, whether if Aaron Rodgers comes in or not, that they have to absolutely hit on this. But
I agree completely.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see what happens. But with the next pick here, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, a team that finished 12-5 last year. I'm looking at, you know, Jim Harbaugh. I mean, given how he's operating with the Chargers, I mean, he loves his Michigan guys. I mean, you can go in a different direction here. You can go Colson Loveland here for the offense, give Justin Herbert another weapon on the outside. Lad McConkey obviously is a wide receiver, so it wouldn't be bad putting someone next to Lad McConkey just to take some pressure off of him. You could also go with a defensive end and Kenneth Grant. I mean, I'm just looking at how Jim Harbaugh operates. He loves to build through the trenches as well. But I'm looking at this pick right now, and I think it's going to be Colson Loveland out of Michigan, tight end. I think you have to give Lad McConkey another weapon. And then Lad McConkey's good, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's your number one wide receiver. I would say if you bring in Colston Loveland, given what he did at Michigan, he has size, Duke can catch. I mean, it gives Justin Herbert another weapon on the outside to work with, and stuff like that. So I think this is what the direction the Chargers should go. You can also go Kenneth Grant, which also wouldn't be bad. Slide him into the middle of that defense, and you have a problem on your hands if you're opposing running back and offense.
I agree. I agree completely. I mean, the comp I keep hearing is Travis Kelce, and you brought back another name, Mike Williams. You brought back Mike Williams. Yeah. So you give Herbert some weapons, and this is a young team too. That's one thing I really like about the Chargers. Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network has Loveland as his 7th overall prospect. The Chargers get him here at 22 is just a steal, absolute steal. And it wouldn't surprise me if this guy ends up being an absolute superstar.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he has a chance to do something special at the next level, given what he did at Michigan. I think his game will translate, and he could definitely help out in offense wherever he is. I think the Chargers is a great fit, though, for him.
I think so. I think so, too. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah. All right, so that wraps up 22. So we have the Green Bay Packers on the clock here at pick 23. Dan, the Packers, if you look at their situation with wide receiver, they never really go wide receiver in the first round. They've always gone a different direction here. It could be the first time they could go a potential wide receiver here if they go that route. So what do you think the Packers do here at pick 23?
Yeah, I like their wide receiver room, to be honest with you. I just, when I look at this team, I really want to go offensive lineman here. I really want to go offensive line here, but you see the name that you got there as your top available prospect. If you go back, and by the way, I don't agree with a lot of what PFF says, but last year they hit a home run with Xavier McKinney, and they drafted one of my favorite players, Javon Bullard, who's more of a safety nickel type of guy. But if I'm Green Bay, you could go corner. Will Johnson out of Michigan would make a lot of sense. You need help at corner. He would make a lot of sense. But if I'm looking at this team, I think Bullard can play safety. I think he can play a little nickel. I'm going with Malachi Starks out of Georgia. And you put him with Xavier McKinney, and you got problems. Look at this division that you're in, right? You got a ton of receivers. You got some good quarterbacks. You need to have some help on the back end. I really want to go Will Johnson. I really want to do it, but you have some questions about the injury. I don't know if he's going to run at the pro day. If he runs good at the pro day, maybe that's something different, but look, if Starks is available, you plug him in, you put him next to McKinney. Bullard, you move him to like a slot. Maybe you run like some 3 safety sets. But bottom line, that's what I would do. He's the best player available. Normally, I don't agree with PFF, but I do here. I think he's the best player available. And he helps out a team that could use some help in the secondary.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what the Green Bay Packers should go here. I think he would be a phenomenal fit for that Packers defense as they continue to strengthen up the back end of their defense there. But with the next pick here, we have the Packers' arch rival, the Minnesota Vikings, picking at 24. I mean, Nick Iamori would have been a great fit here. I'm just looking at.
I agree completely. That was part of my decision with going Starks, because I think Starks would be the pick. Starks or Iamori would be the pick if I was the Vikings. So you're the Packers. You get a player who helps your team out, plus you screw over your arch rival or one of your arch rivals.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. So let's see. I mean, they can go corner. I mean, Will Johnson would be a bad fit there as well. Let's see who else I'm looking for the Vikings. Safety, not really much I'm looking for at safety. I mean, you can go defensive end as well. I'm trying to see who's all available right now.
You got some, if you go defensive end, you got some really good defensive ends that are available. Remember, they gave Danielle Hunter a ton of money, but you still have some really good players. on the defensive side of the ball, especially if you wanted to go defensive end.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where the Vikings go here. I think they go with defensive end Kenneth Grant from Michigan. I think that's a good fit for that defense. I mean, you look at the Minnesota Vikings defense, they were one of the best units of football last season. Obviously, Sam Darnold being their quarterback had a good year until the playoffs happened. I think Kenneth Grant comes in there. You put him in the middle of that defense along with the talent that they already have. And that defense is going to be an absolute problem for a lot of offenses. I think he comes in there,
Kenneth
and
Grant
it's hard
has absolutely no ceiling. I mean, he's a 330-pound dude who's athletic. Mikal Williams out of Georgia, did we already get him off the board?
Yeah, I think you picked him at Packers.
Where'd I get him at? No, the defensive end out of Georgia.
Oh, defensive end out of Georgia. I thought you talking about Malachi Starks. Defensive end out. Yeah, he's off the board. You talking about Jalon Walker?
No, Mikal Williams.
Oh, Mikal Williams. Oh, yeah, he's still.
He's still available? That would be another guy that I would not mind for Minnesota, because I'm looking at your thing. Yeah, there he is. Okay, I have him ranked a little higher than PFF. Of course, I cannot tell you how much I despise PFF, but they did get some things right. But Kai Williams is a guy I think should be ranked much higher. That would also be a very interesting player for him, and Stewart would also be interesting picks. But Kenneth Grant's a guy, I think it's a great pick and great value at 24, because I think he should easily be off the board by now.
Oh, I agree. I definitely agree with that. Given what he did at Michigan, I think he definitely could be off the board earlier. I could see him being somewhere in the 20s. Maybe Pittsburgh if say your Sanders goes early or something like that. But
yeah, I wouldn't be all surprised if Pittsburgh goes, Mikal Williams, Stewart, Kenneth Grant. But the way this mock draft goes, Sanders is available, and you need a quarterback, so get the guy.
Right, exactly. All right, that sounds good. All right, next pick, we have the Houston Texans. So, Dan, what do the Texans go here, given what they did last year at pick 25?
One of the problems they had against the Chiefs was just protecting their quarterback. And, they got rid of two of their starters. They did draft some players, but there's so many problems on this offensive line. So, you have to figure out what you want to do here. It's really tough, because I don't know if I want to take Simmons, because the thing with Simmons is if he wasn't hurt. I'm sorry. Simmons. He's listed. Okay, so he's listed as a. Oh no, never mind. I'm sorry. I got the two Ohio State players mixed up. Simmons was the guy who, if he wasn't hurt, I think could go much higher.
I agree.
Is he going to be healthy? Is the big question. I would almost take Donovan Jackson instead, because Donovan Jackson looked really good when he kicked him out the left tackle. Gary Zibel out of North Dakota would also be another guy. But, it's really, really hard to say, man, because you could go receiver here. Luther Burden would be a perfect fit. I mean, he would be absolutely perfect. But I'm going to go with the safe pick here, and it's a boring pick. Full disclosure, we're not doing trades. If I was Houston, I would try to trade down. But I'm going to pick here. I'm going to stick and pick. I'm going to go Donovan Jackson, the guard out of Ohio State, who played a little bit of tackle. I think this is just a safe pick here, and there's a lot of guys that are available here that should be long gone. Jahid Campbell, I don't see how he gets in the 20s. Will Johnson probably won't get into the 20s. Luther Burden's a guy I absolutely love. Donovan Exuru, another guy shouldn't be available in the 20s. Mikal Williams is another guy shouldn't be available now. But if I'm the Houston Texans, I have got to protect C.J. Stroud. Donovan Jackson, is going to be a day one starter. He's taken somebody's job on that offensive line. It also wouldn't surprise me if maybe you kick him out the right tackle. It wouldn't surprise me. Maybe kick him out the right tackle. I don't know if I want to do that or not, or maybe left tackle. I don't know if I want to do that. Keep in mind, if you have enough faith in Simmons coming back, go that route. But I take the safe pick. I take Jonathan Jackson. Instantly protects your quarterback, and that's what you need.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, looking at that Chiefs game last year, I mean, he's taking a lot of hits. I mean, the Chiefs had a field day on defense against C.J. Stroud in that playoff game.
They sure did.
It really surprised me, but it should be interesting seeing what they do at pick 25. All right, so the next team is we have the Los Angeles Rams, a team that's coming off of a divisional loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Given what the Rams did last year, I guess I pretty much said the same thing about the Cincinnati Bengals. Their offense could put up points at will with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Obviously, he's going to be coming back. He's going to be their starter again in 2025. But the real problem was their defense. Their defense couldn't really stop anybody, especially in the back end. They were getting burned week in and week out. So, like I said, if Will Johnson's here, which I doubt he'll still be here. Maybe he will. I doubt he'll be here at pick 26. But if he's available here, you have to absolutely hit on that and grab a physical corner who has size, who's always at the right spots at the right time. Very disciplined on the side. I think the Rams have to absolutely hit on that. You could also, I'm looking at also wide receiver as well. You could also, because you lost Cooper Kupp to the Seahawks if you wanted to.
Luther Burden would just be ridiculous in this offense. Luther Burden would be ridiculous in this offense. And I could easily see that. But me and you are 100% on board. If pick 26 comes up and Will Johnson's not on the board, you have to make that, because the one weakness when I look at the Rams team, you need some help at corner. And this is plug and play. This is the absolute definition of plug and play here.
Yeah, I think, definitely think if they can just get somebody who can go back there and just fix up that defense, which, that's really the only weakness the Rams have. I don't think offense is the issue. Their defense just needs some work. If they can work on that, then I think the Rams have a chance to go deep in the playoffs next year. I really think they should beat the Eagles, in my opinion. They had the game won, and they just couldn't close it out when it mattered. But get Will Johnson, a guy that's physical, who can definitely bear that Rams defense for sure.
No, I agree 100%. That's almost a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so then we have the Baltimore Ravens, who are coming off a divisional loss to the Buffalo Bills. I'm hearing a lot of Ravens fans saying that they want James Pierce Jr. here, which I could see him falling far, but I don't know if he will fall this far down. They really want him on defense, but what do you think the Ravens should do here at pick 27?
Well, it's kind of funny. If you go to the filter position tab and just put it on all, just see who's the best available player. And the Ravens love Alabama players, and they could use some help on the front seven. So this is a no-brainer. And by the way, Jod Campbell should not be available at 27. There is no way he should be available at 27. Here's the thing, though. When you lost not Roquan Smith, when you lost Patrick Queen to Pittsburgh, you drafted Trenton Simpson. He did okay. But Jod Campbell can play linebacker. He can rush the passer. Kyle Van Noy is not getting any younger. So this to me is an absolute no-brainer. If Jod Campbell is available here at 27, you 100% have to take him. You don't overthink this at all.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The Ravens definitely, their identity is definitely on the defensive side of the ball. You could also go. I'm looking at. Like Donovan Jackson would be good here too. If you look at
absolutely, I want to go Donovan Jackson too, but I just think Jod Campbell his value is just so high, and the fact that he could play linebacker, he could play outside linebacker, you could put him in as defensive end, and they love Alabama players, so you have to do it.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great fit too, especially for that defense after you're losing Patrick Queen. I'm not saying that Jod Campbell is Patrick Queen, but he has a chance to do some special things at that position for that.
I think so too.
Yeah. All right, so next pick, we got the Detroit Lions at pick 28 here. Now, I'm looking at this situation. Dan Campbell is their head coach. Obviously, they're coming off of a very disappointing divisional loss to the Washington Commanders. You could go. I mean, you can go in a lot of different directions here with the Detroit Lions. But I'm looking at. You can go Luther. I mean, Luther Burden would be a bad fit there as well. I don't know.
No, it wouldn't. It would be a lot of fun. And by the way, if you're a Lions fan and Luther Burden ends up being the pick, I could see the frustration. But you're going to love this guy. I think I mean, I'm looking at 28, and I'm like, what did we miss? How is Luther Burden still available?
Yeah, I don't know how he's available. I doubt he might be gone before this, but I'm also looking at offensive line. All right, I'm looking at a guy. Oh, it's not guard actually. No, I mean it's offensive tackle guy. But this guy Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. I mean, you're talking about 6'6", 6'7", a dude that I think he could fit in tremendously for that Lions offensive line. Like I think Dan Campbell, he looks for guys that fits in the description what the Lions want. You're talking about physical tackles who can keep the quarterback upright. And I think that's what the Lions do. I think they go Gray Zabel here tackle, pair of 20. I think he fits in tremendously to what the Lions want to do. And I think it's going to keep Jared Goff upright. Obviously, going back to the Commanders game, he did have a somewhat of a good game, but he didn't really get the protection he needed. So get Gray Zabel, a guy that has tremendous size, dude that's physical, who can keep a guy like Jared Goff upright at all costs to give him more time to get to his receivers.
I don't hate that pick. I would go on the defensive side of the ball because when they played Washington in the playoffs, they gave up 31 points in the first half. And, you're counting on Aiden Hutchinson to come back healthy and be the same guy. But they lost some players on defense. There's a lot of edge rushers. If you go to edge rushers, there's several. All these guys here. The next four names on this edge rush list alone, these guys should be long gone. I mean, Izuru, that's a day one starter opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Mekhi Williams on this team could be amazing. Shamir Stewart, high energy guy who's freaky athletic. This would be a huge win. Scroll down a little bit. Who's after Stewart? Who's the guy below Stewart?
Nick Scorton, edge rusher.
Yeah, him, Landon Jackson. Those five guys right there. I have a major man crush on Landon Jackson too. All those guys would end up contributing, maybe starting opposite Aiden Hutchinson day one. That would be my pick, but I don't hate that at all because Zabel, he's listed as a tackle here. I think he's a guard, and you lost your starting guard in free agency, so that's plug and play. And what do you want to do? You want to protect your quarterback because Jared Goff's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Is he mobile? No. Does he struggle when he loses protection big time? So protect him. So protect your biggest asset there at quarterback, and that's going to be a great player. So I like that pick. I would go on the defensive side of the ball personally, but I like that pick.
Yeah, that's a good pick too. I think go on defense as well would be also help tremendously, especially after, like you said, they gave up 31 points in the first half to the Commanders, which is absolutely crazy in a playoff game. But with the next pick here, we have the Commanders picking 29. So Dan, what do you think the Commanders do here at pick 29? Because they're coming off of a tremendous. I mean, Jaden Daniels had a stellar rookie season, and I think they're going to be even better next year. So what do you think the Commanders do here at pick 29?
Well, I thought they did a great job. They traded for Laramie Tunsil. I thought that was genius. So you go ahead and you upgrade your offensive line. I love that. It wouldn't surprise me if you go offensive line here. And I'm looking at all those edge rushers here, and I'm going through to the Commanders roster. And I see nobody who can get after the quarterback. To tell you the truth, my pick was going to be Luther Burden, who I would love in Washington. And the reason why is that Deebo Samuel, I think it's a great pickup. but is he going to be the same guy he was a couple of years ago, or is he going to miss 8 to 10 games due to injury again?
Yeah.
And that's something I would want to do, because I really want to put Luther Burden. I really want to do it. I am on a site called Our Lads, and I'm looking at the depth chart, and I'm going to read this off from Our Lads. Doris Armstrong, Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, Klein Farrell. Which one of these guys scares you? No,
not really much.
You got to go edge rusher here, and you got to go with the guy that you want. I'm gonna go against PFF here, because I think that this guy could be a superstar. I'm gonna go with Mekhi Williams out of Georgia. I think that this guy has no ceiling, just a freak of nature. Georgia players, I think, are more NFL ready than other guys. And I really think that Washington, look, they went to the NFC Championship game. So you got to go back to the playoffs. Unlimited ceiling, played at Georgia. He's going to play day one. He may not start, but he's going to play day one, and he's going to contribute. So I that would be my pick.
Yeah, that's a solid pick. I think, like I said, given what they did in that NFC title game, really getting just absolutely destroyed by the Philadelphia Eagles, they definitely need to get pressure on the quarterback if they want to advance farther in the playoffs in 2025. That's a great pick there. I like that pick. I agree with that pick for sure. All right. So then next pick, we have the Buffalo Bills at pick 30. Now, they need help at edge rusher. You could also go wide receiver as well. I mean, look at their current wide receiver group. I mean, Keon Coleman is obviously one of your best wide receivers on the team, but wouldn't be bad to put a guy like Luther Burden next to Keon Coleman, a guy that obviously type of year he had in Missouri, giving Josh Allen another weapon to work with on the outside wouldn't be bad. But I think if you look at I'm looking at edge rusher, they also need help. I mean, I guess the Kansas City Chiefs in particular, they really couldn't get to Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's really what you have to do in order to beat Mahomes. You got to get pressure on all costs. And I'm looking at a guy like Donovan E. I think if he's available here, you have to absolutely go on and go with him here. I mean, you have him, Ed Oliver, and the rest of those guys on the on that defense. I think they just picked up somebody from the was it the Bengals? Who they
No, they picked up Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so they picked up him and Ed Oliver. I mean, you have all those guys on that side. That defense is going to be a problem, given what Donovan Jackson did at BC. I think he comes in there, and I think he just makes that defense that much more scary and stuff like that. So you really have to just hit on this if you're the Buffalo Bills. But you could also go wide receiver. It wouldn't surprise me seeing them do that as well, or even go cornerback here.
Yeah, you can go here's the thing. I think the number one thing with the Buffalo Bills is that you barely lost to Kansas City. You were close.
Yeah.
You need somebody to improve your team this year. You can't draft a project. You can't draft somebody with upside. Mekhi Williams is more upside. And Miku, I'm going to butcher his name, I'm sorry, is better today. And I know you got Bosa, but he's on a 1-year deal. It doesn't, and Bosa's never been able to stay healthy. You can't have too many pass rushers. And the fact that he played at Boston College, he's going to be used to the cold. Another name freeze. I forgot the name of their head coach. He was an NFL head coach. So I think he's going to be NFL ready. I think this guy, even though he's at 30, he's going to be one of the better rookies. This guy's going to, whoever this guy goes to, he's going to be a good player right away. And that's why I really like that pick for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I agree. I think Donovan E definitely is going to, like I said, given what he did, given the type of player he is, I think he can help any NFL defense, and he can definitely contribute right away for whatever team he ends up on. So, Dan, we have your favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs, at pick 31. So where do you think the Chiefs go with this pick, and what do they need to do to get back to the Super Bowl next year with this pick?
I really want to go defense here because Derek Harmon out of Oregon just makes a lot of sense. He's a big defensive tackle with a massive upside. But one of the things the Kansas City Chiefs love is corners, and there's a lot of really, 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 really good corners available. There's a lot of really good corners that are available. Trey Amos, a 6'2" guy who ran a 4.43 at the combine. People were worried that can he run? Then he runs a 4.43 at the combine. He's fine. Maxwell Hairston, I would love in Kansas City, but he's a little skinny. Siobhan Reeville, if his medical cleared out, he would have been a top 15 pick. I don't know what PFF's thinking. Florida State's got a corner. Azumre Thomas, they got him at 62. Oh, yeah. That's a first-round pick all day long. But you know what? I'm going to go with my guy. I'm going to go with my biggest draft crush here, and that's Trayvon Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. Ooh. And let me explain why. The one thing about the Kansas City Chiefs running backs is they don't have a home run threat. Now, they got a couple guys from San Francisco. They got Elijah Mitchell, who missed all of last year, but he missed all of last year, and he's a smaller guy who's not going to help in pass protection. Trayvon Henderson is a home run threat who excels in pass blocking, and in this offense would be perfect. And the reason why he would be perfect is he doesn't have to be the bell cow back. All right? He can get 10 to 15 touches, and if you get behind in a game, you have a guy that can pass protect. You have a guy that can score from anywhere on the field. And then you got some battering rams at running back. Another thing is that I don't think that they want to bring Isaiah Pacheco. They don't want to sign him to a long-term deal because he can't stay healthy. So they already signed Kareem Hunt to a 1-year deal. Go with Trayvon Hendrickson. He plays some in 2025 and 2026, if he can stay healthy, he's the bell cow back and becomes one of Patrick Mahomes' best friends.
Right. Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, that's a surprise pick. I actually, Trayvon Henderson, like I said, given what he did at Ohio State, I think he would definitely help the Kansas City Chiefs out. Especially in the run game, as they need help improving that part of offense. But I mean, you could also go with, I'm just looking at that Super Bowl that you guys had, and you can go offensive tackle.
Why you gotta do that? Why you gotta bring that up, man? Come on now. Nobody wants to talk about that. Sounds like the worst thing ever.
And defensive end. Listen, I'm hearing a lot of Derek Harmon, like you said earlier. Tyreek.
I'll be honest with you. On my mock draft that I have not released yet, I have Derek Harmon, and it makes a lot of sense. But they signed Jerry Tilley. It's kind of funny because one of the things the Kansas City Chiefs did it's kind of sneaky good that everybody's kind of ignoring is they grabbed a couple of Chargers. They grabbed Kristen Fulton as a corner player. I loved coming at LSU, combination of injuries and not being in the right situation. But this is a guy that's perfect for what the Chiefs want to do. And they also grabbed Jerry Tillery, also from the Chargers last year. I love when teams poach players from division rivals. A couple of years ago, Andy Reid called Drew Tranquill when he was with the Chargers, and he says, hey, come to Kansas City and win a ring. And that's exactly what happened. And it was a great pickup from Kansas City. So what do? They go back to the Chargers and they grab a – matter of fact, here's a fun fact. You know that Rashee Rice was hurt last year, right?
Yeah.
All right. And what happened was he was injured in the Chargers game because Mahomes threw an interception, and then Mahomes tried to chase down the player and ran into Rashee Rice's leg. That player's name's Kristen Fulton, and he's now a Kansas City Chief. I thought that was kind of fun. So what they did is that because I want to go defensive tackle, but they re-signed Mike Purnell, a guy I really like. They signed Jerry Tillery in free agency, and you got a corner in Kristen Fulton, who I think would fit perfect what Kansas City wants to do. But what do you have at running back as a home run threat? The answer is you don't. You're kind of hoping that Elijah Mitchell, who missed all of last year, can return to form. But look, how many running backs in this draft are known for their pass protection? There's Trayvon Hendrickson. That's it.
Yeah, you're right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's true.
And when he was a freshman at Ohio State, and by the way, here's the thing. When I hear commentators say that, oh, this guy ran a 4.3 in high school, I never believe it. But Trayvon Hendrickson ran a 10.2.
10.2,
in high school. You have to get 100-meter time from a reliable source. And the 10.2 speed that shows up on tape. Now, he ran a 4.43 at the combine. I think that's a terrible time. He's not a 4.43 guy. He's a 4.3 guy. In this Kansas City Chiefs offense, with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, you get a home run threat in the backfield, watch out.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the thing, too. I'm looking at the Chiefs offense. Like, you're pretty set at wide receivers already. I don't think that's the issue. If you can just get a running game,
we re-signed
come in there and like take some of the pressure off of the passing. That'll be a home run as well.
A lot of people don't. The Chiefs really played better when they were running the ball and trying to win close games. But you got Rashee Rice coming back. We re-signed Hollywood Brown. We re-signed Juju Smith-Schuster. Get a home run threat at running back who excels at pass protection, and just watch out. But Derek Harmon out of Oregon makes a ton of sense.
And that brings me into my next pick, the very last pick of the first round. Your defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you did lose Milton Williams to the Patriots, which as a Patriots fan, I'm still shocked that we were able to pick him up in free agency.
By the way, that was a great pickup. That was a great pickup.
Yeah, that defense is going to be a problem, especially if they end up getting if somehow, some way a dual car falls before, that's going to be a problem for a lot of opposing offenses around the league. But with that being said, I think the Eagles should go with defensive end here. I mean, I'm looking at, like I said, you lost Milton Williams. You got to find someone who can replace him and you can plug in the middle. And I'm looking to say you're pretty much your guy that you say you had mocked to the Chiefs. It's Derek Harmon. He's a guy that can come in there and, like I said, given what he did with Oregon, I think he could definitely come there and make an immediate impact to that Eagles defense. I mean, the Eagles are a team that, like I said, they won the Super Bowls past season. They're going to be looking to get back there. They're pretty much reloading. They did lose some pieces, obviously, in free agency, but I think they're going to reload that in the draft, and we'll see what they do come in 2025. Dan, what do you think about this one?
I like it. One of the things the Eagles do is the Eagles just draft really, really well. Over the last couple of years, I've given great grades to the Eagles. What I would do if I was the Eagles, though, is here's where you draft Josh Simmons and have him be the replacement for Lane Johnson in a couple of years, because Simmons, you don't have to worry about if he's healthy day one. You want him down the line. And that's what I would do if I was the Eagles. And that's what the Eagles have been doing, is they've been drafting players to play next year. Like Nolan Smith, he was the 30th pick in the draft 2 years ago. He barely played year one, started last year. That's what the Eagles do. So I would go Simmons here, but I don't hate that. We got some great comments in here with Alpha Sucks at Mock Drafts. That's what a great name, man. Can we put these comments up? Could we put some
mock draft?
These are great, man.
Yeah,
do you mind if I can I answer some of these?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Alpha Sucks at Mock Drafts. By the way, great name. So what the Kansas City Chiefs did is they signed Jalen Moore in free agency. He was the backup in San Francisco. But he started a couple games last year. Now, I'm not as high on him as a lot of Chiefs fans, but when he played pretty well. The plan is to start Jalen Moore and take Kingsley Sumatea, kick him inside, and he's going to replace Joe Thuney. I don't want a rookie playing left tackle. So I kind of like Jalen Moore here. But I think that the Kansas City Chiefs tried Sumatea as a rookie, and they don't want to do that this year. I think what they want to do is have a veteran presence out there. So Jalen Moore is going to be the starting left tackle. It wouldn't surprise me if a player gets cut and the Chiefs maybe make a midseason trade. They can do a lot of different things, but I know a lot of people want to say the Chiefs are going left tackle in this draft. They're not going to ask a rookie to protect Patrick Mahomes. I can almost guarantee you that. But yeah, it is a big hole. They like Jalen Moore quite a bit. A lot of people in Kansas City are excited. I'm semi-cautious about this guy, but I don't want a rookie protecting him. I like Derek Harmon a lot. I really think that that's a little more realistic, but I have such a man crush on Henderson. I absolutely love this guy, and realistically, the first pick in the draft with Cam Ward, that's what I think the Titans are going to do. The 31st pick in the draft is what I want. Realistically, they'll probably take Harmon. What I want Henderson. And Keaton said I can pick who I want. So Josh Harmon slides to 32. Great pickup for the Eagles because he'll rotate in that defensive tackle formation. Plus, you also play hardball with those two Georgia defensive tackles. If one of them wants too much money, just say, hey, I got your replacement right here. Go.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So I like his pick, but yeah, realistically, if Harmon's available at 31, that's probably the pick. But I would love to have Henderson on the Kansas City Chiefs. So
yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a great pick. I mean, that's not a bad pick for the Chiefs. I mean, I think I can see him getting a running back.
So you're okay with the Ohio State guy going to the Chiefs? You're okay with the Ohio State?
Hey, Ohio State's a winning program. The Chiefs are a winning organization. That doesn't, it comes both ways. So I can see that. I wouldn't be mad at that if he wants to win.
Let me ask you this: if Jeremiah Smith could enter this year's draft, where would he go?
That's crazy because a lot of teams will probably go after him. I ain't gonna lie. Like even if a team
seriously, if he could come out in this draft, I think he'd go in round 1.
He'll definitely go round 1. I just don't know exactly where he would go, but I know a lot of teams will definitely trade to get him for sure. That's definitely.
You know what? I think the lowest he would go would be 12 to Dallas.
12 to that. Ooh.
Can you imagine? I can't wait. I can't. This kid's going to be so good. So.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So we gotta see. Amari Hampton feels like a bit. Jamar Gibbs in terms of where he's going to go. I think if Genty gets picked in the top 10, he could go even as high as the Cowboys pick, seemingly higher than most think.
I agree with you.
He could.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I've seen a lot of mock drafts where he goes to Dallas at 12. I saw one where he goes to Chicago at 10. I don't hate him at Chicago at 10 because you got Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator, going to Chicago. Ooh. That makes a lot of sense because you already got DeAndre Swift, who's a small speed guy who reminds me a lot of Gibbs. Here's another thing. I have no idea why DeAndre Swift never worked out in Detroit. It never made sense. They never felt like they used him right. So you get him with a guy like Hampton, that makes a lot of sense. I'm tempted to do the same thing. I'm tempted to put Hampton at 10. The only reason why I don't is that this running back draft is loaded because Chicago in round 2, you could get the other Ohio State running back.
Junkins.
Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. The only thing keeping him out of round 1 is the running back depth, and he ran a 4.57 at the combine. Watch some tape of him at Iowa. That's a first round running back. He would be the best running back in this year's draft. He's like 4 or 5 in this year's draft. But yeah, that's the reason why I don't have him going 10. But you could take Jenkins, Quinzon Jenkins, the other Ohio State running back. Chicago can get him in round 2. He'll probably be available, and you could do that as well.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I'm looking at a situation. I'm kind of want to ask you a question real quick, Dan, about Martin Hampton. So the Chargers got Najee Harris from Pittsburgh as their running back 1. Mm-hmm. So you think it would be crazy to add? You talking about adding Martin Hampton to that Chargers running back crew? That means both those running backs will split the duties in terms of carries. Like I'm looking at that. I'm like, that would be like that would be one of the best running back duos in the league.
Well, you know what? You look, if you got a team that wants to run the ball, why not do that? I mean, why not do it? I mean, I don't think it's crazy at all because here's the thing about the Chargers: they want to be a run first team. Why not have 2 running backs? You know, you could sit here and say that Najee Harris had 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, right? There's no guarantee that he's going to stay healthy for 17 games in 2025. Running backs usually don't. You know, it happens all the time. So no, Hampton, if he's available at 22, that's something that, you know, Harbaugh's going to think about. The only reason I would say he's going to go with a Michigan player is that you got Loveland, who Daniel Jeremiah has him as the 7th overall player in this draft. And at 22, he's a steal. He really is. Kenneth Grant would be another guy that would fit absolutely perfect. So that would be the reason why that I wouldn't go with Hampton, but I would not be at all surprised if Hampton's available at 22. It would not be at all surprised if the Chargers say, hey, we'll grab this guy.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. That's definitely a good take there. I think Jeremiah Smith would be the 3rd receiver off the board after Golden and McMillan. Yeah, I agree with that. For sure. I mean, really after those 2 guys, I mean, I could definitely see him being picked after those 2 guys. Definitely.
Yeah, you know, I think he's so good, it wouldn't surprise me if he was the number 1 receiver. It really wouldn't surprise me. Here's the thing, though. I want to see what he runs because he doesn't have to run a 4.4. I think he could run like a 4.53, 4.54. But if he runs faster than McMillan, and I think he is faster than McMillan, he's going to measure at about 6'3", 215 to 220. I really think that if he had a good combine, he would be the number one receiver. I think he's that good.
I feel like he has much of this. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good comment there. It is likely that Jahad Campbell is going to miss time after his shoulder surgery. If he is, I could see him making a bit of a slide perhaps to the back end of the first round. I mean, from all the mocks I've been seeing so far recently, I've seen Jahad Campbell in the back end of the first round. Like
I've been seeing him all over the first round. Where me and Keaton have him mocked 27 to Baltimore just makes perfect sense. Just makes absolute perfect sense because he's a guy that could spend some time on IR because Baltimore is going to be a playoff team. You're not trying to worry about Campbell in September. You want him to be ready for the playoffs. So,
yeah, I agree with that. That's a good take there. All right, was the reasoning for Ibuka to the Seahawks? I feel like he has such a similar skill set to Jackson Smith-Njigba that they may not work next to each other, especially with the 2 wide receiver set that Kubiak likes to run. I mean, that's a good comment. I mean, the only reason I had him going there, I'm just looking at Sam Darnold. I'm just looking at how he operates as a quarterback. I think it's just you gotta put talent around him. Especially after losing, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I know Cooper Kupp is coming from the Rams, but again, is he going to be able to stay healthy throughout the entire? He's had some injuries as well. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's obviously going to be your number 1 receiver, right? If you don't bring in another receiver, all the attention is going to go to him. So why not bring in somebody else that can at least take some of the pressure off of those 2 guys? It wouldn't be bad as well to get him a wide receiver to help that offense out. I mean, I said earlier, going with guard as well, because the Seahawks need help at guard. But are they going to actually fix that in this draft? Are they actually going to take a guard? Are they going to ignore the problem that they had last year? I think they could go wide receiver here. And I'm seeing a lot of other mocks too that have mocked either Matthew Golden if he were to fall to 18, which I doubt it. I think he goes inside the top 15. So if Ibuka is available, I think the Seahawks absolutely hit on that because, again, you got to be able to score points. We all know how good Seattle's defense is, but it's just a matter of can you compete in the NFC NFC West, which they've shown last year, but again, just a bit of inconsistencies in there with the offense.
Yeah, I would go offensive line. if one's available. Both of us have all the offensive linemen that would be in the top 20. Banks, Tyler Booker. You could go Gary Zabel out of North Dakota State there as well. I'm looking at Seattle. The way this mock draft went, Amarori out of South Carolina would be a great pick. But
Will Johnson.
Yeah, Will Johnson would be a great pick. I mean, they need some help in the back end. They could potentially get a linebacker. They drafted Tyrese Knight last year. I actually didn't watch enough of him to know, but I do know they like him. They also re-signed Ernest Jones that they made a preseason trade for last year. But you signed DeMarcus Lawrence. Seattle's a tough team. I personally think that we're not doing trades in this draft, but in my opinion, if this draft were to work out the way it is, and I was Seattle at 18, I'm definitely trading down and seeing if somebody wants to get Shadir Sanders.
Sanders, yeah.
Yeah. The way that this draft works out, I would 100% see Seattle trading down.
I agree. That's a good point there. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Dan, is there anything that you want to go over one more time before we wrap it up for the day?
It's funny. I'm looking at this mock draft, and there's and this is the fun thing about the draft is that there's 6 or 7 players that I'm looking at, and I'm going, how did these guys not get in the first round? Luther Burden's a guy I absolutely love. How is he out of round 1? I mean, right. I don't get that at all. I mean, Shadir Stewart out of Texas A&M, how did he get out of round 1? I mean, there's a lot of really, really, really good players that I'm looking at, and I'm going, how did they get out of round 1? But I do want to point out, I will be live April 23rd with my final mock draft. I will also be live days 1 and 2 of the NFL draft, and then I'm coming back Monday to do my draft grades. I've been doing that every year. I took off a week of work. Right now, I'm doing the 2 job things. I'm on YouTube less, working more, but I have off from both jobs the entire week of the draft. So come join Dan Talks Football for some draft commentary. Maybe I can get Keaton to come on. I don't know.
Absolutely. That will be a fun time for sure. So just to go one more time with you guys, we got number 1, Cam Ward, number 2, Abdul Carter, 3, Travis Hunter, 4, Will Campbell, 5, Mason Graham, 6, Ashton Genty, 7, Armin Membu, 8, Ted McMillan, 9, Jalen Walker, 10, Kelvin Banks Jr., 11, Walter Nolan, 12, Matthew Golden, 13, Tyler Booker, 14, Tyler Warren, 15, James Pierce Jr., 16, Mike Green, 17, John A. Barron, 18, Mecca Ibuka, 19, Nick Imamori, 12, 20, Amari Hampton, 21, Shadir Sanders, 22, Colson Loveland, 23, Malachi Starks, 24, Kenneth Grant, 25, Donovan Jackson, 26 is Will Johnson, 27, Jahad Campbell, 28, Gray Zabel, 29, Michael Williams, 30, Donovan E., 31, Travion Henderson, and 32 is Derek Harmon. That is going to wrap.
I do got one for you. Let me throw out one question.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Jonathan Harmon is 31, which is probably what the Chiefs would do. Mm-hmm. Who would the Eagles take at 32 then?
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of I'm looking at the safety group. I mean, if Starks is available, I don't think he's going to be available at that though.
I don't think the 2 safeties are going to be available. That would be a tough one. But the way this mock draft is gone, I'm almost thinking Luther Burden, which sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, It sounds nuts. But I'm going through the mock draft. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at some of these players. And I'm like, how is Luther Burden not going in this round 1? I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny too, because I'm like, Emeka Ibuka, a guy I picked at 18. A lot of people don't even have him going in the first round, which I mean, I'm looking at.
I like his game. I like his game.
The first round talent. I think he's a
first round. I agree. I agree completely. He was a guy I wanted in Kansas City, but Kansas City was able to bring back Juju Smith-Schuster. They also re-signed Hollywood Brown. I didn't think they would be able to do that. But if one of those guys wasn't available, I would want Ibuka in Kansas City. I love his game. And by the way, him going to Seattle, I would go in a different direction. I want to be very clear. I would go in a different direction. But I really like that because you get 3 potential number 1 receivers. And one of them could be injured. You never know. You can't count on Cup to be healthy. You just can't. So why not have 3 studs?
Exactly. I mean, again, it's about surrounding Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold needs as much talent. Or just knowing Sam Darnold, what he did in New York. Obviously, the Jets were an absolute disaster when he was there. He didn't have the supporting cast that he did, or that he had in Minnesota. So I think surrounding him as much talent as possible is the key in order for him to flourish, especially with that Seattle offense. And
I just pulled it up, and Seattle has the 50 and 52nd pick in the draft. They have 82 and 92. They could easily go Ibuka here at 18, and they could also trade back up into the second round and get some help on defense, and they could also help the offensive line because they need help in all those areas. But you have pick 50, 52, 82, and 92. They can address all those areas. But they can't get a wide receiver as good as Ibuka. There's some people that think Luther Burden's better. I think you could go either way. I can't say one's better than the other, but I like Ibuka a lot there at 18. I really do. I would go in a different direction, but I really like that pick.
Right. Absolutely. So, Dan, is there any last words you want to say before we wrap it up for today?
Man, no, I had a good time. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully we could do something like this again, either draft time or maybe before the draft. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
As always, so guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. That was your first round mock draft with no trades. I bring in Dan, wanted to give his overall thoughts on each player. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe on both our channels. Links are in the bottom of the description down below. And that's going to wrap it up for the day. Keaton Talk Sports signing out for the day. Deuces, guys.